nothing but a dirty novel I can't shut if it's uncut and unsucked.
That makes me so nervous.
Okay, Cuckolding. Yes. It is now the 4th highest episode in our repertoire.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah. It's so funny because
we don't know how.
It's Emily Rome's episode, which of course the romantics is what her fans are called.
She has like a fan base.
Is number 1, and then it's like Knife Play because it's our first one. Then it's so it's 1-1, 2-2, and then 3-3. How funny is that?
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
explain that to me.
It's season 1, episode 1 is Knife Play. Okay. Season 2, episode 2 is Amish, and then season 3, episode 3 is Cuckolding.
And they're just boom, boom,
those
boom.
are our
That's
top.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really satisfying though. I don't want that to ever change. I need the 4th one to be your next season's
Yes.
4th episode.
4.
I know. But Emily Rome's still the New Year's Eve still has to be number 1.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, incredible.
I think that we got posted on a forum of some kind.
I think so too. I posted that one around and then saw a couple friends tag me. I do have some friends who tend to do that. Like when I come up in their algorithm, they'll like try to support me in that way.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the freaky little friends I have, maybe their little groups
got in there.
Really
not mad about
me
it
either.
Yeah.
I was just like, because last year when it was the end of the year, we like posted about our Spotify wrap-ups and stuff, and our most listened to that we had posted that year was Amish.
Yeah.
And so we made a post being like, you fucking weirdos, like,
Cute.
Of course you all listen to Amish. So this year I hope it's still Cuckolding, so I can be like,
mean,
you fucking weirdos.
It's like
Just
double.
Paste it.
Yeah, Cuckolding has like double the average at this point. So it's going to take a lot for something to kick it off of that spot.
Well, we've got some good ones coming up. We've got till release, I should say.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's so funny because we're doing the last episode and we're talking about like
we're
releasing them, but
it's funny to me too, like that would be so clickbaity. You have to be a little clickbaity in the way that you title your stuff, right? Like you have to be like, Cuckolding, that's gonna get some clicks.
Yeah, and that has honestly the episodes that have done the best have been the ones that have like Amish and Knife Play that are very like easy titles to read and understand and be like, oh, I want to know more about this. Like the ones that are really long, like the one we did in season 1, the non-blonde prince one. I think it was just too long. Not many people have listened to it, and
except now we have like 2-hour episodes.
Yes.
So whatever. But you're a wonderful.
It's
pervert.
not I'm a wonderful pervert.
You're wonderful and perfect, but also a wonderful.
Also,
pervert.
you are a wonderful.
You brought me fruit snacks, so you're a wonderful pervert.
Yep.
I've been just strategically, just generally replacing the word expert with the word pervert, just as I live my life. Like, because it's very funny and it works every time. But like, yeah, if you ever watch the news and they're like, it's a military pervert or whatever.
Yeah,
it just makes things a little bit better.
Yeah. If you're, because you know, you kind of are. Like, you kind of are a pervert of that thing if you're an expert in something. Yeah. You got a little weird with it.
It gets you off a little.
It's your fetish.
You're passionate.
Everyone is a pervert.
We're perverted about something. Yeah, what's your perv?
Dramini fan fictions. Next.
The Sims.
Next question.
Fucking I don't want to talk about it next.
I recently started reading some more Dramini fan fiction. I haven't landed on anything.
Oh.
I dabbled in some one shots last night just to like get back into the world. But we're getting there. But I'm a pervert about The Sims now. Recently,
it's
are
a new
the
thing.
game.
About The Sims.
The game. I have recently come back to The Sims because I was a The Sims teenager.
Me too.
For
like
big.
The song drove me actually crazy.
Yes.
Like at one point I was like, I need to get out of this house or at least mute the computer
Yeah.
because I am going nuts.
I play without the sound.
That's the way to do it. I didn't learn that at 12.
I was not a Sim. My brother was. I never played. I played like once to figure out what it was, and I was like, I'm good.
I don't know what it is about it, but
Control, baby.
Control. And I don't even necessarily like playing The Sims. I like making the houses. That is what I like.
I like designing. Well, when I was young, I liked designing people to fuck. That was what I really was there for.
100%.
That's what my Barbies were for.
I'm just now doing the math that this is an updated Sims, so Sims has gotten better. So you're probably fucking better.
Sims is crazy now.
Oh my god!
Is it still? Because I remember when, I remember seeing not videos, but like a clip of like Sims trying to go at it, and it's all
blurry.
Blurry. Is that still the thing?
That's still a thing.
You get the whoopee bush,
but you can get it. There is an entire. So the lovely thing now that I love about The Sims, we're gonna bring it all back to what I always talk about, which is community. is like it's gotten so advanced. It's gotten so advanced.
No, not her making a moral community.
Well, but
no,
so
please, God.
people have made their own mods, their own like things that you can add to the game that are completely free that they've uploaded to the internet and said, if you want to make the game better, here's a thing I made.
Sick.
So I have one that automatically puts into place all the cheat codes I like for building. And then there's another one that's very famous called Wicked Whims. And there's like a catalog, and you can be like, I want my Sims to have like a BDSM dynamic. I want my Sims to spank each other, and you can add mods, and it gets rid of the blur, and it like adds sexual situations to your Sims.
What do you see?
You see them literally like doing those things if you have this mod in place.
Well, the joy of the game too is it's a choose your own adventure type. Like you can like say something mean and I can make you an enemy, or I can say something sexy to flirt with you like that. So to me, I get like why they would be like, oh, this is just a little more kinky or whatever. But not the unblurring. That's wild.
Yeah. Wicked Whims is there's a
for all you Sims fans out there.
There's an Instagram account that I think I've talked about before called Ask a Sub, and she has a newsletter, and she recently wrote a newsletter about Wicked Whims.
Oh my god!
Because she's a 24/7 submissive with her husband, who's her dominant. So she's in like the kink world, and that's what she writes about. That's what she like does workshops on and stuff. And she wrote a whole basically like essay about sexuality in The Sims and what it means that we have wicked whims in place, and like why women tend to play The Sims and enjoy enjoy the safety of being able to be like, I'm gonna make my dolls kiss.
It is. Yeah. It is really safe. And it is. To me, it comes back to that control. For me, that was always what it was. It was like a little tidier. Like I had my own messes at my real life, and it wasn't as easy to just click and decide.
Yeah.
It wasn't a 4-choice answer, and like I can get deeper with like that being sexual too, because it always tended to go really
it
like
always
kinky.
You always tried to get them to bang.
Oh, I was constantly getting the wrong people to bang. Just the worst, and it was a challenge.
I'm more hipster. I'm more vintage. I used my Barbies and
analog.
I also did write stories in middle school. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
I
also wrote stories in middle school, but what were yours about?
That could be a special episode of y'all reading them. I would absolutely tune in.
We should do that. Oh my god, because
I'll try to find my Pirates of the Caribbean fanfic.
Please, God.
Mine is about like people I know.
Special episode.
Mine is about like, or it's like, I definitely had someone in mind, but their name was Clark or Colin, like
Mark.
or something like that. So, and I remember there was one where
it's family. No, I'm just kidding.
where someone gets shot in the arms. So it was
both arms separately.
My friend, shout out to Diana Pearl. I wonder if she'll actually listen to this. Used to joke about it all the time that it would be like a bang, bang, like someone very like
oh
imagine.
My God, this needs a visual element right now to watch Emily just nonchalantly get shot in her arm.
That's what she would do all the time. And it was like this, there was like a gang, and his like friend got killed by the gang, and then he decides to love again because like he can let go of the grief, but then the gang goes to school with them.
She wrote The Outsiders.
I wrote The Outsiders.
But he got shot in his arms.
But he got shot in the arms. Because I don't want anyone to die, except for the person that already died.
But I wanted
that
to
was
lose
before the story started.
Both of his most important.
There's surgeries now that you could get function in the arms again.
Are there arteries in the arms?
Yeah, you could die.
Yeah, but it was like in the meat, not the arteries.
It's not the potatoes.
Hey, speaking of meat and potatoes, welcome to
Femmes Reading Filth.
Hi, that was beautiful. I'm Emily.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Julie.
Hey.
This is our last episode.
It
before
is.
the finale.
Before the finale.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, we talked about this.
we did text about this.
Before the finale.
Yeah, I know. But it's the theme is SmAgic. So sex during magic is what we specified. Or sex because of magic.
Something melding the two.
Magic because of sex, I should say.
Magical sex.
Magical sex. But I keep calling it SmAgic because it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
I apparently don't do well under pressure because I am panicking, and I have never panicked.
That's
once
okay.
in my life.
Breathe. Let's just go with this.
Deep breaths.
What went through your mind when you picked SmAgic? Like what are you expecting, and why did you want to?
What are your
hear
hopes
about
and
it?
dreams?
What are your fears and thoughts?
Well, it's all about community, really.
Let's bring it back to community.
Fuck off.
Well, for me, I really picked it because we had gone pretty dark and y'all roasted me about going so dark with all of my topics and being such a whimsical light of a person. I'm basically a fairy nymph princess.
Right. Yep.
And I was going real dark, but that's because if I'm going to hear it, I'm going to hear it from y'all.
Yeah.
That said, I did realize I did want to not end the season without doing something just a little more whimsical and joyful, and also that had I liked the idea of it being a bigger umbrella term, so like y'all can kind of
do whatever you
go
want
wherever
with
the fuck you want as long
Yeah.
as there's a magical element. So that was where I was coming from.
I think I'm trying to think of I don't think my fic is very whimsical or
Oh, shit.
joyful, but there is magic and sex in it.
Is it dark?
It's not. I don't think it's even dark.
Okay,
I just
then we're good.
Yeah, I don't find it dark, but I know that our definitions are very different.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, no, but there have been some you gave me a full on like, hey, this one's dark, Julie.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
if I don't have that coming from you, I feel good.
No, this one is
no.
a little. It's gonna be. I'm interested to see how you react to it.
Less whimsy.
Because I don't find it dark or problematic, but
Yeah.
we'll see what you think.
The PC police over here.
Yeah. I don't think mine is. I
You
think
have thoughts.
there's one part that could get dark, and then it's like immediately like solved. So you know what I mean. Mine's more of a romp. Also,
Great.
if there's anything I've learned
I love a romp.
since Halloween of last year, it is that I really enjoy a monster fucking fic.
Oh.
And
What is it about a monster fucking fic?
I think it's because it's so
Not a fucking monster face.
no, it's so random and out there for me. Like that's never something I think about. And then this would be in the realm of monster fucking.
Great.
My
I was gonna say
book for
you
this.
have hooked me fully. I do want to start your story
Yeah.
immediately
Well,
because
and
I'm
my-
like, what monster
also-
are we fucking?
The one I read for Halloween last year when we did monster fucking, I legitimately loved that book.
Yeah.
It was like so good. And then I ended up reading the sequel and I was like, still great.
So this is my thing too that I have come to realize about myself is I don't know what I like until weeks later when I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
And like, because I'll enjoy. I'm an enthusiast. I can get behind anything. I can watch anything, and I can find good in anything. So I don't watch. I can't sit. If I don't sit through it, then it was really bad. If I sat through it, that means nothing as far as like quality. So to me, I'm kind of curious to hear.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm getting from this. The monster thing really stuck
Yeah.
with you and came back. You brought
It just happened, and I don't seek it out really. But when it falls into my lap, and I just always enjoy it because I'm like, it's so this sounds so funny. It's so creative.
Yeah, it is.
Like if somebody
It
puts
is, yeah.
my two the main characters that the story I'm gonna tell you, there's like a fly of the story I'm gonna tell you today, and they put them in my lap and they're like, do something. I'd be like, I wouldn't have thought of how the sex works. I wouldn't have thought about like any of the mechanics, you know, or just like a relationship or anything. So I'm always almost in awe, I think, of the creativity when it comes to monster fucking fics.
Yeah.
And
so you're liking it from an artist perspective, from an art perspective.
yes.
Or
yeah.
are you like, because I think what I mean by this and why I'm like prying into it is I want to know if it is like, is this becoming slowly a kink for you? Is this becoming something you enjoy reading because it's so fun? Or
this
is
is
it
not
because
something I would want to introduce
watching?
into my sex
Got
life.
it.
This is
not trying
not.
to fuck a cyclops?
It's like it's like fun. It's just
Yeah.
fun because I'm
Okay.
like, who thought of this, and also why am I so entertained?
Great.
And like, how did you think of this crazy thing, but make it so fun that I'm like, I had a good time. You know what I mean?
like once you
Interesting.
introduce like a centaur, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want.
Literally.
you can go any
Literally.
direction.
I read Morning Glory
Yeah.
Milking Farm as a joke.
Was it good though? Because I've heard it's really good.
Honestly, it was great.
I've heard it's
was great, too.
fantastic.
I have talked to Sammy, sister of the pod,
Yep.
about it, and I think we've both read it now. And I did it because it was like at the time it was like $0 on Kindle.
Yeah.
Or it was like a Kindle Unlimited for like a second. And I don't know if it is anymore, so don't quote me on that. But I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And then I was like hooked into the story, and I was like, how is this gonna work? How is this gonna work? And I was like, they made it work. And I guess the next one is about like a Mothman, and I was like, I don't know, I don't like moths.
You'll
So
like it though.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
You
I don't
might.
like. Okay, so fun fact: I'm actually scared of butterflies and moths.
But maybe he's more man than moth.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but here's the difference. Yeah, I'm like a Mothman to me is an energy, not he doesn't have furry body.
Okay, wait. So SmAgic.
SmAgic.
So back to SmAgic.
So back to SmAgic.
I like because there's not really much research to be done. The only thing I looked up is because there's a lot of crossover between sex magic and sex pollen.
There was so much sex magic out there.
Sex magic
Because it's a real thing.
Yes.
What's sex pollen?
So sex pollen is a whole other trope, which also intersects really nicely with fuck or die as a trope. So basically, sex pollen is like our two characters are usually in some kind of
Is that the New Jersey license plate? Fuck or die.
fuck or die. Yeah, it's a sister company of Funny or Die, but they try to keep it separate if they can.
It's their porn.
It's their porn arm.
Their porn arm is wild.
Yes, don't get too deep into it. But yeah, so it's like it's usually either a sci-fi or fantasy setup.
Okay.
And the whole idea is our characters have inhaled something or they've come into contact with something that makes them unbearably horny.
Oh, and they have to do it.
And they
or their
have
body.
to do it to get it out of their system.
Got it.
Usually, or else they'll die or fall into a coma or be very
Yes.
uncomfortable or something.
Okay.
And
I was thinking it was like somebody putting a gun to their head and being like, fuck or die.
No.
Okay.
But
this
fuck or
is
die
more
usually,
fun.
when I read fuck or die, it's usually something like that. And that's part of actually my fic. It intersects with fuck or die as a trope. But yeah, it's like something has happened and the cure is orgasms. Which I love. I actually really enjoy reading it.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like an Omega and Heat type of situation.
Yeah.
They have to do it.
It's a way to introduce
They
that.
have to do it. This sounds like y'all are my high school boyfriend gaslighting me. Really, it's really.
No, that one's like, it's like quote unquote their
I
biology.
have to come or else I'm gonna die.
It's quote unquote their biology.
Yeah.
So they have to
It's
come.
like
and it's usually
it's like your high school boyfriend, but if he was actually truly telling you
Yeah.
something that
if
was
blue
important.
balls were real.
It's
Yes,
genuinely like he's
100%.
gonna have a heart. Like that was my gateway to Hermione fanfiction last night, which I haven't finished it, but I found a fic where it was Draco Malfoy made an unbreakable vow in third year that he would have sex with Hermione Granger before they graduated as like a joke.
And he has to do
they're
it?
graduating in like a week, and Theo and Blaze bring him to Hermione against
Send
his will.
this to me,
and they're
please.
like, Draco, tell her, and she doesn't believe them. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, I will drop dead if we don't fuck. I'm so sorry.
this bitch.
I thought it was a joke, but now he was like, it hasn't happened yet, and I will die. I'm not kidding. And she makes them take like truth serum, and they're all like, yes, we also wish that it wasn't real, but we do need to figure out a way to make this happen.
That's insane.
Oh my god.
I'll send it to you.
There's also like trying to find a book for this. Typing in sex magic, there are books on how to do sex
Yeah.
magic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and so
or like spells. I'm sure. I'm
yes.
sorry.
No, that's okay. But I
No,
didn't
like the
realize...
erotic, like witchcraft and
Yeah.
intersecting with the erotic is a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So finding this was it wasn't hard. I ended up doing, this is not a Kindle Unlimited, but it's a very cheap Kindle book on Amazon, but it's by a well-known author. So I figured it'd be fine for our readers. But yeah, so that was just like a fun thing to realize while I was looking for a book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very real thing. I follow a witch on Instagram who does really good rituals, and she ties all of her rituals to orgasm. Cool. So she'll like do her ritual, and she will hold her intention in her mind while she's masturbating.
I have heard that
Interesting.
when you come, that's when you're like, yeah, it's like, it's, you know how that whole concept of when you're doing affirmations, like when you first wake up, you have like a thinner veil between your like actual subconscious. They say that for a lot of different things, that dreamlike state and then orgasms and stuff, because you aren't thinking, you're not thinking with your, your thinking brain, you're thinking with your more reptilian, I hate that, but the reptilian brain, the more like natural, instinctual brain, not the logical like thinking. Yeah, interesting.
All right, so as a caveat, we read these a month ago.
Fair.
So it might take me a minute.
Same caveat for me.
In.
But I read Stalked by the Kraken.
No.
by Lillian Lark.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm understanding why the mechanics were a problem. There are a lot of phalanges.
It is by Lillian Lark. She is, or I don't know her pronouns. I'm gonna say she, but is a well-known author, and like it's that thing of when you open your Kindle and you see those ads like before you even turn it on. I always get a Lillian Lark book somehow, or like something where it was like the Highlander. It doesn't matter.
Wait,
so
read the. All I remember is Kraken. What was the title?
Stalked by the Kraken.
Stalked by the Kraken.
It is 259 pages, and I forgot to write when it came out, but I feel like it was between 2013 and 2016 or something. I don't know why. Gideon is the Kraken.
Got it.
And he is in town to do a job. His job is to track down treasure.
Wait, he's got legs.
He is in a human form.
He's a man.
He is a man, but
He's a crack man.
We learn.
Wait, nope, that's not it.
We learn for these beings to be out in society. They have like a human form that they can kind of like with magic mask their full bodies or whatever.
Got it.
And Lillian Lark does a lot of monster fucking books. Is this like one of a universe?
I believe so. Yes, it is actually, because the first one I saw, it was there was a ton of them. They all take place in the same place, in the same area. And there's a ton of...
There's one about a dragon
Maryland.
that I remember seeing.
Yes, there's a lot of dragon. There was werewolves. There was like vampires. There was a succubus one. But they all take place in this bathhouse, which I'll get to.
Not to throw away succubus.
Not to throw away succubus. So they all take place in the same. And this is like the first one, I think. Or one of the first ones.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So Gideon the Kraken is in town to do a job. He tracks down treasure. And he was hired to help basically steal this heirloom. Like from a witch's coven, but it was stolen from them and sold to an antique shop. So he has tracked down the heirloom to this antique shop, and he is with his friend Mace, who is a demon.
Why am I getting Hallmark movie already?
Just you wait.
I'm already
Just you
getting
wait.
like,
It's the
small
antique
town
shop.
in the antique shop, and the guy needs his thing back.
So he's like staking out across the street at this diner from this antique shop to he's just looking at it because he's going to steal it back, basically. As he's planning, while he's sitting in the coffee shop, in walks Rose, and immediately he like scents her, and he's like, "That's mine.
Oh,
That's mine."
Interesting.
Rose's family business. She is a witch, and she's from a family of witches.
Great.
And the family business is a SmAgic bathhouse. So in this bathhouse, it is magicked in a way that when people have sex in the bathhouse, the magic that is created from their joining is pulled into like the walls, basically,
for energy.
So they like bottle it up, basically. They bottle up this raw magic and they sell it to like witches, and they sell it to wizards, and then that's how they like stay in business.
Yeah.
And so it's good for like the community because they do it for like protection spells, and like it's all about community. Hey, we're all bringing it back to community.
Community is so important.
It really is. It was the community we had in us all along.
Yes. Her role at the bathhouse is to matchmake supernatural people. So she can see.
Oh, because she's trying to get better juju in her walls.
Yeah, and she can see like soul bonds, basically. So if she sees someone's like soul strings, I think is what it's called, and they're like gold, and she sees, another person's and they're like light blue, she's like, okay, that's like a 10% match. They might have a good fuck, but they're not going to be a relationship. So she tries to find people who could actually have relationships if they want it. But if not, you can also like go to the bathhouse, sign up, and just go in and just have a good time. Like you don't have to have like be match made, basically, but it helps to like produce more magic, basically. Does that make sense?
So the bathhouse is an optional thing that people do, or do you pay to go? Does that matter? It doesn't matter.
I don't think that matters.
Okay, I was just thinking because if it's like a service that they're doing for
free.
the community. Okay,
it's like you have to have a membership though, so you have to like go be
so
vetted.
It's like, it's exclusive. Okay,
it's
exclusive,
but it's free.
I was trying to catch the vibe of how many people are like. Is it the whole town's like nope?
No,
gotta go. I'm
and
18
it's not
now. Gotta hit the
This is like
bathhouse.
normal world.
Okay.
So there's normies.
that don't bathhouse.
Yes, that don't bathhouse.
And don't witch.
So all the
Or do they witch?
They do not witch.
Okay.
There are normal humans.
Got it.
People.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like the way bathhouses have been historically used in the gay community, where it's like it's a meeting place for these people, but
Yes.
like the
But it's
normies don't
secret.
necessarily
Yeah,
know about
That's
it.
why we
Yeah.
call it a bathhouse and not a fuck house.
Yes. It's also magicked, so like normal
nobody
people,
bathing.
Basically.
it's magicked, so non-magical people don't go in or see it at all. So
Cool.
they're safe from that too. So she
It's in Diagon Alley.
It's in Diagon Alley. She matchmakes people, but she can't seem to match herself, and therefore hasn't participated in any bathhouse fun in a while.
Tale as old as time. The
Yeah.
matchmaker can't find her match.
Well, she thought she did and had a really bad breakup.
Oh,
and now
shit.
her confidence is shaken. And before, she used to walk into the bathhouse and just like step in on an orgy or two and have a good time. But now she
With
hasn't.
this tragic
She
backstory.
has not joined in a while.
This poor thing.
Sorry, we learn all that with her friends. Her friends are with her at the coffee house. She's like, meow, 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 meow. And then we like cut to next scene. There, she's at the bathhouse with her. It's a family business. So her cousin runs like the front desk. Her brother does the
Gross
numbers.
family business.
Well, they don't do any. They don't.
I
like,
know, but just also,
Yeah,
I get it. Somebody's got to run the strip club, but it's wild to be like, bro, hand me the books.
it was their parents. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it
But
in the
bringing
family.
in the kids is wild. Like, what age are you like,
Yeah.
hey, kiddo, it's your time?
You got to run the register.
Yeah.
So as they're talking,
I'm picturing like a bodega, like
Yes.
a 12-year-old on the register.
I'm assuming it's kind of like a spa. You walk in, it's kind of nice, and there's just one person at a desk,
Yeah.
and then you go through the doors, and it's like
Fucking.
there's the locker room, there's the huge bathhouse where people fuck, like
Yeah.
yada yada
Right.
yada.
I would go there.
Same. Sophia, a harpy, enters as a newcomer, and we learn about the bathhouse. And so everything I just told you, that's how the reader learns it.
Cool.
They
Got it.
are giving her a tour, basically.
Cool.
And we learn that there are public and private rooms. Rose helps match people up who bang, and the rooms absorb the raw magic that comes from the banging. They bottle it. Yeah, so I already said that. And that's how they finance the operation. So, again, you don't have to pay to go in. I'm
Great.
selling it to you
I'm
already.
selling your sex.
And it turns out, and she's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to sign up right now, but thank you. And she leaves, and we follow her in the book. And it turns out Gideon hired her to scope out the place because he saw Rose go in, and he's like, I need to know what my gal is doing in there.
Got it.
Rose is the one who owns the antique shop, not the bathhouse.
No, Rose owns the bathhouse.
bathhouse.
He
Okay.
is there to stake out the antique shop to steal something from it. The
But he-
bathhouse and the antique shop happen to be next to each other.
Heard. So Rose has nothing to do with the antique shop.
Correct.
Got it. She just happens to live nearby and
Correct.
work there. Okay. Cool.
So Jared, Rose's brother, we cut back to the bathhouse, tells Rose that they are way down on raw magic that month, and that they won't be able to fulfill all the orders that they get for the raw
Maybe
magic.
we should have a raw magic talent show.
And so,
Save
and
the town.
he's like, you need to make more matches. We need to get more people in here. Like something's wrong, blah, blah. And we learned she's been scared to matchmake because she had one bad match happen and it happened to be her own.
Aww.
As she's kind of in this conundrum, Gideon walks in and is like, I would like to be matchmade. And she's like, okay, I have kind of a long list. And he's like, no, I want to be matchmade with you. And she's like,
Bold, Gideon.
she's like, I don't
Hella
sleep
bold.
with clients. I don't do that. And he's like, well, of course you can use my magic. And she's like, oh, she gets really offended because she's like, I'm not a prostitute. Like, I'm not using you I don't use people for magic or whatever. And he's like, no. Like, that's not what I meant. And he gets all flustered and she gets all flustered.
This
That's
reminds
cute.
me of when you ask the universe to help you with something and then it does and you're like, not like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that wasn't what I meant.
And he gives her his card if she changes her mind. And he's just like, I'll in his inner monologue, he's like, I'll keep watching her and I'll make sure she's okay. But like, I've offended her. I don't understand how this works, blah, blah, blah. And like walks away.
Okay.
She talks to Lowell, her cousin who works at the front desk.
How's it spelled?
Lowell. Lowell.
Lowe.
That's a normal name. It's not.
Lol.
It's not like a.
Worse to say out loud. Lol in writing. I love
It's
it.
fine
Yeah.
to read. Yeah.
It's
Lol.
great to read, but to say it does sound like it. You do have to spell it almost.
LOL.
Lol. Lol.
And Lowell,
Yeah.
Lowell is her cousin and BFF, and he's like,
Wow.
we're all. So he's like, we're really worried about you. You never participate in the orgies anymore, and
It's like you're not even involved
It's
in
like
this
you don't even
family
care.
business.
and she's like, he's like, we know that you went through something sad and kind of traumatic, but like you're not you anymore. Like we want you to you're not okay. It seems like you're not okay, and we just want you to be okay.
Yeah.
And she kind of just like realizing she needs to change, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna call Gideon. And so they meet at the coffee shop across the street from the antique shop / bathhouse. And she kind of sits down. He's already there. He's like looking at her and she's like, God, this man is so hot. He has like brown, shaggy, kind of short hair. He has like a strong jaw. He's like very like, he's like a very hard muscled man.
Got it.
8 arms.
8 tentacles everywhere.
Gets shot in 2 of them. Keeps going.
But don't worry. Keep it going.
Okay. So they meet at
He's
a coffee shop.
hard-bodied. He's sexy.
He's hard-bodied. He's sexy. And she kind of sits down. She's like, I want this to be on my terms. And that means, you know what? We're just having sex. We can go on a date to get to know each other. But like, I can't have a relationship right now. Let's do this one night. He's like, how about 3 nights? And she's like, okay, 3 nights. And she's like, plus, you know, he's like, I didn't mean to offend you, but my magic will be good for your walls and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, great.
Magic will be good for your walls.
Not her vagina walls, her bathhouse walls.
Her walls.
And so he's like, okay, cool, let's go now. And she's like, what? And they go on a date that night to a museum where there are...
I don't hate it.
Which, first of all, I was like, this is straight to my pants. I love that. But it's a museum that has a bunch of, like, shipwrecks. It's like a shipwreck... It's like in
Where
Washington.
the hell did he find it?
I would love that.
Right? So there's like a bunch of, you know what I mean? Like stuff from shipwrecks.
Yes.
He's like the Kraken. He's like, I can't take her to the aquarium. That's on the nose.
It's too much.
Well, and so she goes, she's like, I can tell, she cannot see his soul strings, but she knows that
I was
he
wondering,
is.
like, was that not a red flag? If I could see
No.
everybody's soul strings, I'd be like, bitch, show me yours.
But
Yeah.
she knows that he's magic, but she cannot figure out what it is. Because usually you can kind of like sense it. She's like, I you know, I don't want to be rude, but what are you? And
what are we?
He tells her that he is a Kraken, and she asks all these questions, and she reveals, I'm sorry, she's like, I've never met one. He's like, yeah, I think there's like 2 now, maybe in existence. So there was never a lot. We don't know where we came from, and this da-da-da. And he kind of like tells her a little background, and she goes, are any of these like shipwrecks like from you? And he's like, they might be, I don't know. Like he's like infinity years old. Like he's
like an ancient,
he's ancient
eldritch being.
Yeah, so he
I
goes,
was thinking
they could have
it was
been
like, I'm not me when I'm angry or hangry.
Yes,
or
yeah.
whatever. I don't know.
And she's like, how big do you get? He's like, I could become like as big as a building, da 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 da. You know,
But
this
just
is how
my
I do it.
dick.
He's like, I'm very powerful. I have magic to mask a lot of my stuff. So, and I don't like people knowing that I'm a Kraken because yada yada yada. She's like, yeah, totally. And she's feeling like comfortable with him, and she tells him finally that like she found her perfect match and he rejected her. And so that's why her confidence has shaken. That's why she's not the same person she is anymore. And that's why she's all like angry all the time. And they talk more, and she's like, you know what? Like, I feel really comfortable with you. Let's go to the bathhouse.
Great.
And he's like, if that's what you want, I'm on your terms. And she goes, yes. Yes, this is what I want.
Nice.
And so they go into the big area, and she's like, I don't want to do that. Like, there's like maybe another couple there like in the back, and she's like, I don't think I'm ready for this yet. Let's go to one of the private rooms, and it has like a bed. It has like a small kind of, not a tub, but like a jacuzzi size bath.
Yeah.
And it has this kind of like altar with candles. And so she's like, okay, let's do this. And she just like strips naked, and then she like doesn't look at him as she goes up to the altar, because we learn that you have to light the candles in order for like the magic to work. And so she has to light a candle, he has to light a candle, and then they have to light one together in the middle. And then it's like, okay, the room is ready for sucking. And they get into the tub, and the like bathtub, and we hear her inner thoughts about how nervous she is. And she says, you know, she doesn't want to ask for anything, because mostly she doesn't want to be rejected again.
Yeah.
The person that she was with before looked down on certain things.
We
like,
really got to stop letting these men have that much say over our internal dialogue.
It's that thing of like, oh, well, I don't like going down on you.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck
and
that.
that's a message about him, not you, babe.
Correct. Correct.
Like, he wasn't your perfect match, sis. I want to have a conversation with her this whole time already. I'm like, she needs a best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, Gideon goes, I want to do whatever you want to do. And she's still very much like, I don't know, I'm so in my head. He goes, okay, how about I just do whatever I want to do until you say stop?
Right.
And she's like, I like this idea.
Me
and so,
too.
and
Always a good method.
and she's like, yes. So he immediately like goes down on her, like
Great.
under the water, because he can breathe underwater, because Kraken.
Oh
Yeah.
Great.
And she's like, this is great. He like lifts her up. He ends up bringing her to the bed, and she finally gets out of her head, and they start to bang, and he starts to partially shift. And
Oh,
so,
shit.
and she's
Tentacles?
like, wait, what?
Yeah, and I'm like, size difference,
And
bruh.
but they're having like normal like penis sex, but then all of a sudden she starts feeling like something sliding up her leg.
I can't.
All I'm picturing.
Normal penis sex is the wildest sentence to say so dead ass serious. Like the way you were like really
They're having normal
explaining-
penis
Yeah,
sex.
they're having normal penis sex, and then she feels another dick on her leg.
So she feels tentacles sliding up her leg, and then she feels tentacles like going around her arms.
All I'm picturing is what is his name? Bill Nye's character from the second Pirates of the Caribbean.
Stop it.
Like the villain.
I heard Bill Nye, not Bill
I
Nye.
heard Bill Nye.
Bill Nye.
Bootstraps Bill? No.
It's
Oh, I know who you're talking. Davy Jones.
Davy Jones
Davy
with like the
Jones.
tentacle face. That's all I'm picturing.
I too heard Bill Nye.
Have you ever seen Galaxy Quest?
Yeah.
You know when Dr. Chen and the alien girl start making out, and,
Yes.
and all of a sudden like
It just-
tentacles come
yeah.
back. That's what I was picturing.
Okay.
Incredible.
So if you haven't, Galaxy Quest, one of the best movies.
a
ever.
wonderful
Please
movie.
go watch it.
I was too picturing. I've not pictured David. When the second
Davy
you said
Jones.
Kraken, Davy
Yeah,
Jones.
that makes
popped
sense.
Davy
up.
Jones.
That makes
Yep.
sense. And she's like, "Whoa, what?" And he shows her like that he has these tentacles. I'm assuming they're kind of coming from like his back.
Okay.
I can't really quite picture it. Again, I read this a month ago. I do not remember the actual description
Mechanics.
but he shows her. She's like, oh my god. And she's like, well, I read she's like, I read something, or I saw something on the Discovery Channel about octopuses.
Stop.
Is your dick gonna come off?
Stop, ma'am. No, she's not. I feel like I would have been offended as a crack. I'm a white woman offended on behalf of all Krakens. Don't say that.
And he starts laughing, and then they both start laughing. He goes, listen, I could shift this into another tentacle, or I can just keep it as a penis.
Or I
And
can-
she's like, let's do it. And she immediately he's like, or I could I could put a tentacle in you and kind of alternate. And she's like, I love that idea. And so I just call this number 1, stuff me up.
Stuff me
Great.
up.
Stuff
Great.
me up.
Love it.
And she orgasms really hard. It's great, but she immediately turns panicked when he says that he'd like to extend their arrangement into dating, and settles. She's like, I don't
After
know.
date 1, bitch, you already got 3.
Well, to him, the minute he scented her, he was like, "That's mine."
Yeah, but he
So
should have waited till the 3rd to keep pushing.
He's never done this
he's
before,
doing too
though.
much.
I understand, but he's
He doesn't have
ancient-minded.
Human, he doesn't have
Yeah.
human type
Correct.
social
So-
skills.
But he is nothing but polite throughout this whole book. He's very much like, this is what I want. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, see, that's
And
my
so,
energy.
So I kind of
I like that.
I like
I was
that.
never mad at him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I like that you're because sometimes men don't state what they want.
Most people are bad at it.
Yeah.
Most people are real bad at knowing what they want, let alone communicating what they want. And they're real weird when they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Alright.
scary and vulnerable.
Okay.
Well, she settles for him saying, "Can I bring you lunch tomorrow?"
Yeah, same.
Always.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you anymore, but fuck yeah, bring me a sandwich.
Yeah, I'll have a sandwich.
So
Thank you.
the next morning, Lowell and Rose find out that there is something wrong with one of the wards. And that's why, one of the walls is not retaining the magic. There's a hole in it, basically. And so that's why they're so low on raw magic. And it's the wall that on the other side is the alleyway. And across the alleyway is the antique shop. So just
They've
remember
been
that.
siphoning,
Just
Maybe.
remember that.
Maybe.
burn down the
So they're like,
shop.
we'll get it fixed. Lowell's like, I'll patch it for now until we can get the wizard who does the ward wizard to come in.
Great.
She's like, great. Gideon brings her lunch and a really fancy pen as a courting gift because again, he's ancient minded. He's like, I must give her a gift for
Bitches love pens.
and it is said that she loves stationery, she loves pens. She's like a paper source girl.
I'm not mad.
Yeah.
No,
If a
she
man
sounds
brought
great.
me a meal and a nice pen,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if he had a legal pad in there, my pants would be straight up off again.
Well, and he presents her with this pen, and she offends him by saying whoa, this isn't transactional. I'm not fucking you for pens. But he
She's so defensive.
he gets mad, but then they both calm down because they're like, oh, this is just a gift. Okay, whatever. So Gideon's like, okay, great lunch,
I
bye.
brought you a Bic, bitch. Like,
No,
relax.
it's like
No,
a knife.
I feel
No,
you.
I know what you mean. Gideon hears about like the wall being fucked up. So when he leaves lunch, he goes out into the alleyway and like kind of sees. He like looks at the wall and finds out. He's like, it's next to the antique shop. I know no one's in there right now. I got to do my like reconnaissance anyways. So he sneaks in and finds out that bad stuff is afoot because they're not just auctioning off antiques. Dun, dun, dun. Jackson is Rose's ex. And he shows up at the bathhouse asking for a tour. And she's like, fuck you. No.
Yeah.
What?
Like, he's like, I want to see what you've done with the place.
Gross.
And he's all angry. It's
What's
like a
he
very
angry about?
It's a very odd. It's odd. He's like, I want to become a member now. She's like, you looked down on it when we were dating and you shamed me for it. And
Yeah, you
like,
freaking
no.
weirdo.
And so he's all angry and she kind of realizes his soul strings are now yellow and not the like rose gold that she saw at first.
Ooh.
And she realizes that this was not a match at all, like between them. And she starts to feel a lot better.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't believe I saw different colors, but like he must have just, that's
Changed
so weird.
or something.
And so upon realizing their match was clearly a mistake, she feels more secure in pursuing a relationship with Gideon. And so now we switch back. While casing the shop, Gideon sees Jackson, the ex, sneaking around the alley looking at the bathhouse side of the wall. And Gideon's like, this guy smells weird. I don't like him. I think he makes me mad. So he kind of like scares him off.
I really wish we used more olfactory judgments and humanity.
Smells
like, I
weird.
wish
Smells are big for me. If someone smells
Huge.
good, like when Big Red wears like a certain, I think it's like ready when he comes out of the shower, like his soap smells really
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I like a zest on a boy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though, like I'm not even saying. I want to be very clear because of course I like when people smell good. Of course, period.
Yeah.
Point blank. When you smell bad, you smell bad. You smell good, you smell
Mm-hmm.
good. But I think there is something to like because some people's funk I like. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's like some people's little stank that I'm like, okay, you're a little bo, but I don't hate it. Versus like some people you're like. I don't love the way this makes
Yeah.
because I'm like it's deeper than that because there is that but anyway
It's not the vibe.
right
Yeah.
it's like more I don't know pheromonal
Yeah. I think there's
it's-
something to it.
Pheromones
for sure.
are huge.
Yeah.
rather than like
You're
be
drawn to
stinky.
certain
yeah
things.
you smell like the outside
After scaring off
smell like
Jackson, he realized that he's like, there's so much happening right now. I just need to send it to somebody. And so he like collects all this info that he found at the antique shop and he sends it to Rose in an email just to be like, just so someone has it. And in case something happens to me, she knows what happens because I would never leave her. She is mine, blah, 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 blah. And so that night they're supposed to go on a date. But Rose is like way too horny. And so they go straight into a private room where she's like, what if like, could Krakens like breed? And
wait
We
now
getting a breeding
she's
kink in
getting
here?
clingy.
Are we getting a breeding tentacle kink in here?
and so he's like, well, like I don't think Kraken can't have babies.
Kraken can't have babies is so funny. Kraken lay eggs.
but he's like, I could like come in you, and she's like, yeah, I'd love that. So I call this one number 2.
Stop.
Pretty good primal play, if I do say so myself.
Time out. Not her asking if you could make babies just because she wants them to nut in her. Like there are better ways
but
to
it's
ask.
that thing of saying like yeah, I'm gonna put a baby
It's a
in
true,
you. Yeah,
it's a true like
yeah.
breeding kink.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You could
get
just be
it.
like, fill me up, not like I gotta have a baby.
Well, I'm not a bucket to be full.
I'm not a bucket.
Don't
Julie.
call me a bucket,
I love
Julie.
that that's the episode.
So he asks her after
You're
he
a
like
chum bucket.
He like chases her around. I'm gonna skip
I'm
that.
so sorry.
He chases her around the private room and like he like
Okay.
not tackles her. He pins her with his tentacles
Hot.
and all this stuff, and so it's hot. And so when they're cuddling, he asks her to stay away from the shop building the next day because they're gonna take down the auction that's supposed to happen that night. And she's like, yeah, totally. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. The next day at work, she's all happy and in love. She's at like the coffee shop or something. And while working, she finally reads the email that Gideon sent to her and sees that like not only is all this shit happening that they're selling witches, but also that Jackson is in charge of the auction, her ex-boyfriend.
So wait, they're selling witches?
Yes.
Like
Did I miss
human
that?
beings?
No, I didn't say what they were selling. I said they were selling more than antiques. It's like a sex slave thing.
Oh, well,
Fuck
when you said
this
it
guy.
yeah, ew.
And so the next day at work, she's all happy and in love, and she reads that Gideon, the email Gideon sent, and she realizes that Jackson is in charge of the auction that is sex slaving as well as antiques.
Yikes.
Yes. And so she puts it all together, and she realizes that, like, the pull of the magic, like, why it was being drained, like, the fact that
It's
he,
him.
like, it was all, he manipulated her, like, soul
Fuck this
strings
guy.
and all this stuff.
And he tried to pretend he was gold and not yellow.
And
he's
her-
just a dingy old fucking yellow.
He's a bucket. And
He's a bucket.
her
A
magic
chum bucket.
her magic rage takes over. So Mace, the demon who is friends with Gideon, who was on the job with him, Mace and Gideon, we cut to them having saved the girls. They've stopped it. They've like tied up Jackson.
So wait, we cut to black and all of a sudden the girls are saved.
Yes.
Just-
Great.
we missed the whole thing.
Countless witches that we just got introduced to have now been rescued.
Wonderful.
They're
So happy for them.
They're so magic that they didn't even have a fight. You know, it was just like we're stopping this, like time up.
They're like
beep-a-bop.
ancient
Yeah.
magic. Yeah.
Which was always my beef with like the burning of the witches anyway. Let's be real.
Well, I'm sorry. They have two. There's two guys. It was Jackson and his friend. So they have them both like in quote unquote custody, like citizen's arrest, and
Kraken arrest.
Mace like can teleport because he's a demon. So he takes the first guy, giving Gideon time to try and like get more info out of Jackson because he has now learned that this is Rose's ex. So he wants more info on like the auction and all this stuff to make sure that they can like to stop everything.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Rose storms into the building and she is like, I'm gonna kill you. And Gideon knows like why she wants to kill Jackson.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he needs to stand trial. And suddenly Jackson like gets out of his magical collar and grabs one of the hostages and is like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go to Mexico. Beep, boop, babble, beep.
Boom.
And a tussle happens. And Rose ends up grabbing his face, which I assume is like Harry Potter in the first movie when he like grabs Quirrell's face, you know?
Yeah.
And casts a spell that like makes him basically go blank. And it's called a soul binding. And so it's not like a lobotomy, but like it has those effects of like, I have no will to like go against you now.
Okay.
And so Mace is like, wow. Mace like comes back. Rose is like wavery on her feet because she just almost depleted her whole magical stock to
She
like
used
do
a big,
this.
big magic.
She
Big
used big
guns.
magic, and Mace is like, "Wow, your mate's really powerful." And Gideon panics, and she's like, "No, she's not my mate." And Rose is like, first of all, I'm your mate. Second of all, you don't want me to be my mate." And like, she gets all sad.
Not her being like, she's like, oh my god, like she's like, I don't have energy to do anything, but
Yeah.
I will fight you.
Yeah.
So-
She's like, I know that I actively told you that I didn't want to date you, but we're mates, motherfucker.
Well, and so
Honestly,
she's
that's very me coded.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
would absolutely be like, don't you fucking
What do
put a
you
label
mean?
on us. And then the second that they didn't, I'd be like, whoa.
it's that like she's so emotionally, she's just exhausted.
Yeah.
She runs back, she's sobbing. She runs back
She's
to the
a little
bathhouse.
messy.
Yeah.
She's
She
a little
messy.
messy.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, and decides she's like, you know what? Like, I don't need a mate, and she like strips and goes into the public area where all the like her friends who had orgies are now.
She's like, I don't
there.
need a man to fuck me. I'll fuck me.
And she's like, I just want to use pleasure to numb my pain.
Damn,
and
girl.
So she's like, I'm gonna join you, and they're all like, yes, we've missed you. And he, before she could do anything, he follows her in and is like, I'm sorry. Like, you don't understand. I just didn't want you to like be freaked out by it. And it's like a moment. And she's like, no, you're not. And he's like, no, we're mates. And she's like, no, we're not. And they
she's
kind of,
so annoying.
they have this like, she is.
She is
They have
annoying
this-
the fuck out of me.
But she's not thinking clearly.
Right,
She's
right,
so
right,
exhausted,
right.
and she kind of like tries to fight him, but he like holds her, like, and he's like, "What? You want to go in the pool? We'll go in the pool." And so like they're like naked, holding each other in the pool, being like, "It's okay, it's okay."
Cute.
And she's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna pass out." So she starts to pass out from all this magic use, and he takes her home.
Aw.
And the next morning, she wakes
And he
up.
doesn't do anything fishy.
No. Oh,
Hey.
not one tentacle out of place. And so the next morning she wakes up, he's laying there next to her, and they have a talk. And she learns that he has been masking his soul lines this whole time because he doesn't want anyone to know his
Right.
business. And she
I would
finally
too.
Yeah.
she finally sees them, and they're nice. And she's like, we are mates. That's great. And so they decide to bang, and they mate, and they do it, and it's happily ever
Banging
after.
and mating, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they
More
bang.
intense.
They bang with they like mate when they bang. So they bind to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I call this one number 3. Little baby Krakens for all, maybe. And so the epilogue. They've been dating for a long time. They're like about to get married, and she's been requesting it for a while. And at her request, they go into the bathhouse, into the public room, and they bang in front of a whole audience. And I call that one number 4. All eyes on me. All eyes on me. And that's Stalked by the Kraken.
Wow.
Incredible. I love that the climax.
It's a romp. It's
What a
romp.
quick romp.
A quick one.
Yeah.
Also, just the ending being "we're gonna fuck in public" is incredible.
I
Chef's
love.
kiss.
Didn't Neon Gods end that way too? Where like the finale
Yes.
is fucking
When
on a
he's
stage in front of other people.
on his throne.
On
or
his
some shit.
throne.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the finale in a lot of books of like, we're
Iconic.
gonna affirm our mating, and all
Everyone
you
can
motherfuckers
see.
can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna fuck in front of you.
Oh, you think we make us horny? We're about to make
You horny.
So really, we're gonna do a really quick "Would you rather?"
Okay.
Number 1, and just the first thing that comes to mind. Ready? Would you rather tentacle or dick? Go.
Dick.
Dick.
What? Like I was like, that's so clear to me. I am afraid of lizards. You think I want a tentacle near me?
I would get one of those tentacle sex toys just because some of them are really cool.
Yeah,
but-
if I
Yeah.
know that it's man-made plastic, sure.
Yeah.
Like if I know
not
that-
a real tentacle.
No,
though.
there's like some lubrication on the tentacle.
I would be worried about the suction inside.
I
of
think
me.
they can. I think they can.
I don't want that.
They can.
Bro.
Imagine
Bro.
him. He has control over the suction though.
My freak out with tentacle stuff is very much the natural, like, I don't know, the instincts I have against spiders, the way they move, like tentacles to me, the way they move to me,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very snake-like. I feel like my actual, like,
Yeah.
reptile brain is afraid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, please don't.
This
That's
is
a-
not one of me. Should not be near me.
Also, like slimy.
Slimy.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I like Jess's point. The suction freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because y'all get to choose when to do that, and I don't get to choose
I don't
that.
want it inside of me.
Get like stuck on a pubic hair.
Thanks for asking, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather
I love that you were like, say this one quick because I already know you know.
fuck a kraken or a succubus?
A kraken. What's a succubus?
A succubus is like it's traditionally it's traditionally a female. They like have a tongue that can kind of like
Oh.
suck.
Isn't a succubus kind of
Never
not?
mind.
It's not a siren, but isn't it close?
It's a sex siren, if you will.
yeah,
Like, they have
probably
to
a
have sex.
succubus.
Then I take it back. I'm going full succubus.
Probably succubus,
A long-tongued lady who's
Yeah.
a little bit too scary and attractive. Yeah, I'd take it.
Yeah.
And then the third one, would you rather fuck
was
in
thinking
a
young.
bathtub or in a bed? Or in a bed that's next to a bathtub?
How
Or
big
in a
is the
water
bath?
bed.
How big is the
Like
bathtub?
jacuzzi size. Like 2 people are very comfortable in it.
Right now, I'm so tired. I want to fuck in a bed because I want to sleep after.
I think a bed.
It depends on the human, though. I've fucked in pools and baths, and it's fun. I'm
I
not
have too.
against it. Like, I'm not against fucking in other places, but typically, if I'm at my laziest and least horny, then I'm fucking in a bed because that's
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah, the acrobatics sometimes required
Yeah.
for water anything
Yeah.
Yeah.
is a lot.
I'm
Yeah.
old, also. My body hurts.
It's great
Yeah.
on your back though.
yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. the
What about
floating.
what
I'm a
about
good
you? We
floater.
need
Yeah.
we need rapid fire.
Succubus or kraken?
Kraken.
Dick or tentacle?
Dick.
Water or bed.
Water. Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess water.
okay.
I've never done it in water.
You
I've
should
done-
ask Big Red to
I've done
take you to the
other
ocean.
I've done other things in waters, but never the
fucking?
full Monty in
I got
water.
another ask you, or would you rather?
Yeah.
Ask your man about wanting to breed or fucking in public.
Oh, that's really hard. Because I do not, as of right now, as of this day, I do not want children.
yeah.
Well, no,
The
but I
idea-
think that's
and-
again the breeding is nutting in you.
But the thing, but like,
But
I
even the suggestion of it is not sexy at this moment for you.
Yeah.
the idea of that, but the idea of being like, it's more of like it's a primal ownership thing, which
Yeah.
I know is deeper in the kink. So I understand that, and that I like.
Yeah.
Like in the moment of like it's a dirty talk thing almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that I like. I don't really want to be watched. I don't think. I already have enough body image issues as it is. I don't need any more. So
Yeah, I think fucking in front of people, actually, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because that's not, like, it just feels more elevated than the other thing. It feels
Yeah,
like more
I
a
tell
little
every
more
straight
special.
man to nut in me, so like that's not special to me.
I think it's also like an intimacy thing.
It is an intimacy thing.
And I
Yeah.
think I like that more. So in
Both
the
are intimate.
in the sense of in a dirty talk way, I would go the breeding, but not in the actual act of it. Do you know what I mean?
I feel you.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't mean, do you want to have a baby? Like, I'm so
Right
sorry.
now. No, I know,
In
but
its
I wanted to
moment.
I wanted to say it as the caveat
No.
because some people would think like,
No.
oh, that means like
It's
you
a totally
wanna-
separate thing.
Yeah.
I hear you. And as you were explaining it, I did realize it was like asking a nurse, like, what is her favorite, like, what her least
What's your
favorite thing
favorite
about
artery to
medical,
stick?
yeah, like medical procedure, and you're like, what do you hate about the system to a doctor? And you're
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah.
I'm too deep in it. Like,
Yeah,
I know
there's
nothing I can
exactly.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're just too smart for
Yeah.
it.
But that was Stalked by the Kraken.
It was
I
wonderful.
love
Thank you. It was a romp.
A romp
Excellent.
is
Yes.
a perfect description.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
Let's get into the fanfic of it all.
All right, the fanfic of it all. It is called An Unusual Course of Treatment by ughiguess,
Love that name.
which is a great username. It was published.
Incredible.
Yeah, I've read this fic before. I found it and was like, so I was very excited to revisit it. It was published in 2015. It was published in December of 2015. So
Okay.
she's an oldie but a goodie.
Which is so funny that 2015 is old.
I know.
It's almost 10 years ago.
Almost 10 years. This fic is 9 years.
Quit it.
Yeah, 9 years old.
Quidditch.
I know. It has 21 chapters, and it is, so the author's note, which I thought would be very useful context for you guys, based on the sex pollen trope with a little bit of a Sleeping Beauty vibe, except that Jane is awake for the sex. Canon divergence set during Thor, The Dark World. Why am I so bad at
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what we're doing. We're doing
Immediate change in my face when you said, except she's awake during sex, because
because Sleeping Beauty, the original Sleeping Beauty.
she got fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She woke up with
What?
like twins.
Yeah, she wakes up
Yeah.
like having had children.
God, I always thought it was dark that a man kissed her.
No,
No,
they
the original
really toned it
German
down.
fairy tale is
I gotta
not.
go back to all the people I
Don't.
bitched about.
Oh.
I was like,
Yeah.
no, I bitched about this too because I really want to take it one notch higher.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
Yeah.
they were like, that's not that crazy. I'm like, no, it's crazy to
Yeah.
see a woman in the woods and then kiss her on the mouth.
No. She got full
Wow.
assaulted there.
Wow. Okay. Well,
but
thanks
that's
for
not
that.
happening in this one.
Okay, great.
That's not
Yeah.
what. That's
Thanks
not
for
happening.
that.
It's all
They very
consensual.
explicitly have a conversation before much of anything happens.
Cool.
I am not asleep. Good. Sweet.
But this is set during the second Thor movie, which you don't need to know a lot about that. I am assuming, Julie, that you don't.
No, I know who plays in it because he's beautiful. I
He
guess.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know the
anything else.
basic like Marvel setup of like Thor as a character?
I've seen Endgame before I saw any of the other ones, and
Okay.
that pissed
Okay.
off a friend of mine hard.
I don't care about that.
I understand that anger, but you do you.
I got it. It was a good movie, standalone.
The three characters you really need to know about are Thor, Loki, and Jane Foster.
Okay.
Do you know
I don't know Jane.
Okay.
I've heard of Loki, which I know is what's his nuts.
Tom
Tom
Hiddleston?
Tom Hiddleston.
Yep.
Everybody knows him. I did not know his name, but I knew him.
He's
I
hot.
could picture his face. And but I
Yeah.
don't know Jane.
Okay, so Jane is Thor's love interest,
Played by Natalie Portman.
played by Natalie Portman.
Okay.
She is a science-y, very, very, very smart lady, human,
Cool.
who is basically, I'm going to butcher this. Anyone who's a fan of Marvel is going to come, I don't give a shit.
This is about the sex.
This is about the sex, but basically at the beginning, she's a scientist. She studies the like dark matter tesseract bullshit that's important in this world.
It's how they meet. She's studying like the weather and the dark matter or something, and then that's how Thor comes down. That's how they meet in the first movie.
Yep. And then in
Okay.
the second movie, a portal to another world kind of opens up, and she's studying that.
Okay.
And she gets like zapped. And that is where this fic starts.
Okay.
So this fic basically goes, what if the zap was something else?
Okay.
So that's what we're doing there. And then, yeah.
So and Loki is Thor's brother.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did not. Thank you.
Yes.
I just
So-
knew that they were characters in the movie, but thank you. Appreciate that.
So they're based on Norse mythology. So
Okay.
Thor, Loki, and then their father Odin, who is like the ruler of Asgard, and that is all based in mythology. And so Loki is the god of mischief, Thor's the god of thunder, and so the whole thing with because Loki is our main dude, so I'm gonna get into it a little bit.
I'm sorry, but if my brother was the god of mischief and I got thunder, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, but Thor isn't, because Thor is
He's
kind
more
of like
powerful.
Thor
Oh,
is like
okay.
a strong, lovable buffoon.
Okay.
And Loki's the clever, spry
Got
one
it.
that had to learn.
Mischievous.
Yeah. So Thor is like strong and kind of a brute, and Loki is not weak, but like smaller and has to get by
he's
through
skinny.
like magic and wits. And also, honestly, the TV series about the Loki TV series on Disney Plus is really good.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something to
I
watch.
pass it a lot. That's actually how I knew who it was.
Yeah, it's really fun actually. But yeah, so Loki is kind of at the very beginning, that when he's first introduced to the Marvel movies, he's the villain of the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie, and then he kind of becomes part of the crew in like an anti-hero-y
He's
sort of
in
way.
it for himself, but he's like good.
Yeah,
But
he
he's-
doesn't want to see the world end.
Yeah.
Right.
And he ultimately, so his whole dark backstory, not dark, but he thinks it's dark, is that he was
His parents were divorced.
no, but essentially he's like raised by Odin and his wife as Thor's brother, and he until a certain point thinks that he is like an Asgardian, like one of their world, and then he finds out that actually he was born in Jotunheim, I think is how you pronounce it, and he's like a frost giant, and these are like the enemies of the Asgardians. So he basically is like, you guys lied to me, I'm adopted, and
He
I
was
didn't
adopted.
know. But that's also like how he's so magically powerful, because he's
Okay.
like this whole other being. But that's why he becomes dark and twisty, because he's like, you lied to me, Dad, and Thor's not really my brother. blah,
Right.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So that's some of the backstory you need to know. He's just very moody. It's fine.
Fine.
It's fine.
Every story needs one.
Yes.
Needs one adopted kid.
Or one moody asshole.
So
Not
we're
Rose.
we're doing a Jane Loki fic,
Thank you.
which is a very niche pairing.
Okay.
But I actually enjoy reading them when there's a good one.
Cool.
Yeah, because she's very, very smart, very sciencey, kind of an outcast for it. And Loki is also very smart, very magic-y, kind of an outcast for it. So, getting into it, Loki, because he was the bad guy in the first Avengers movie, is imprisoned on Asgard. He's locked away. He's been locked away for many, many months. Jane, on the other hand, is in London. She's an astrophysicist. She travels to an abandoned factory, and a mysterious portal has appeared, and she basically like gets zapped by something in the portal. She falls to the ground. She isn't waking up, and Thor like finds her and is like, oh my God, what's going on? She has a heartbeat, but she won't wake up. Her eyes have turned like purple, and he's like, this is something magical. We don't have any magic practitioners here on Earth. I'm going to take her home to Asgard because my mother, what is her name?
Mom.
Mom.
No,
Yeah, mommy.
she's like a god also
Yeah,
in
like
the
Margaret.
Frigga?
Oh,
Frigga?
Frigga?
I think
It
it's
could
Frigga.
be. There's a lot of gods and goddesses.
Frigga.
Yeah, Frigga.
So she's like a powerful healing magic user. And so Thor is like, I'm gonna take
I'd
her to
prefer
mom.
it if you used the F word from now on.
F.
AKA mom.
Mommy. So they're trying to figure out what's going on with Jane. The healers are like surrounding her, and they're like, there's something magic that has kind of deeply like gone into Jane. We don't know what's going on. They tell Thor, don't touch her until we know more, because we don't want
Yeah.
this to happen to you. And they're like, well, there's one
Well,
person.
how did he get her back though?
Hmm?
How
Oh.
could he move?
He like, I don't know.
He could move her
He
without
picked
touching
her
her.
up and took her, but then they were like, don't touch her again.
Got
because
it.
it's
It's
too
magic.
risky.
It's
Yeah.
magic.
Right. All right. Fine.
Yeah, they were
Sorry.
like,
I'm
no.
finding continuity errors
He
already.
moved her, and then they were like, you shouldn't have done that. Just don't.
Yeah,
Don't
relax.
do
Do
it
it
again.
again.
Yeah. And so, but Frigga is like, well, there is one person who's more powerful than I am. He's just in jail right now. And Odin, their father, is initially like, well, we can't let him out of confinement. They're like, but he's our only hope. And they let Loki out.
They said not high key.
Loki.
It's time for Loki.
Boo.
So he's summoned. He has been in a cage for a while, so he is thin and tired, and as soon as they come to him, he's like, yeah, fuck it, I just want to go somewhere. So I'll come help you with your fucking girlfriend. And so he
already hot that they're gonna end up fucking.
And so he's really happy. He enters the room. He's really happy to see his mom because he's really close with his mom, and she like trained him. So he like hugs her immediately, and she fills him in. Is like, we don't really know what's going on. We thought that you might be able to sense something, and he can sense something, but he has like these magic dampening cuffs on. So he's like, you have to uncuff me, and that's a whole argument.
I saw those magnets on QVC recently.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
Ones that magically
gold and
go
silver
together.
Yeah, they're for like air sickness, I think.
Yeah.
I have some of those actually. They're great. So he like stretches his hand over Jane and sees trails of like purple like light passing over her.
Streaks. What did you
streaks?
call them?
Soul streaks.
And
Strings.
Yeah.
Strings.
I was like, there's something.
We just said it.
Soul strings.
Just did this.
We're doing a lot.
And so he sees them, and he realizes that she has like a binding spell over her because she's got all of these like strings crisscrossing her.
Whoa.
And he immediately like turns to Thor and says, I need you to go to the library and get me this very specific book. And Thor doesn't want to leave, but he goes. And then
Thor's like, have you heard of the internet?
Yeah.
But
we have that thing back on Earth. And he goes, so Thor begrudgingly leaves. And as soon as he does, Loki turns to Odin and Frigga, his parents, and says, I need you to back me up. We don't have much time. She has been cursed with a form of a lust spell.
Uh-oh.
The trails connect to all of her erogenous zones, and
What?
she's paralyzed and will slip into more of a coma
stop.
if they're not untangled and severed the right way.
Well, if mommy says so.
Thor isn't going to like it, and I need you both to back me up because it's the only way to figure this out is someone with magic needs to sever the cords.
Imagine if Frigga was the one that was like, I gotta fuck your
I gotta fuck your
girlfriend.
daughter.
Honestly,
gotta
I
fuck your
kind of
girlfriend.
wish
Yeah, I
that they
know.
would have done a twist on that.
It would have been fun. I should look up Jane Frigga fix and see if there are any.
Yeah.
So Thor comes back holding the useless book, and Loki explains that the cords can be untangled with the stimulation of the erogenous zones. And
Not
then
them putting it in marketing speak. They're like,
Yeah.
listen, with the androgynous zone.
well, he's trying to be as clinical
Of
as
course,
possible.
yeah.
you
Which
have
he's
to.
like,
It's good.
You
yeah,
have to. I gotta fuck your girl.
yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm gonna just explain
Yeah.
what needs to happen.
Wild.
And as at the point of orgasm, if you say a spell, it can be severed and the limb will be released.
Incredible.
And that will slowly release her from the binding spell. And Loki says, well, through the right kind of stimulation, she'll be released. And Thor's like, well, what do you mean by that? And Frigga's like, son, I think
You just hear the bzzz
Yeah.
of the vibrator in the background.
well, Frigga goes, son, I think you know what he means.
I think you know what we mean.
I think you know what we're talking about.
Bless Frigga.
Yeah, and then Odin.
Friggin' Frigga.
Yeah, and Odin like claps his hands and goes, "Okay, then it's settled. Loki, you will break this curse. Thor, you have responsibilities elsewhere. Please leave."
Oh my
and
gosh.
ushers him out.
Thank God for Odin.
Yep, they're both
Thank Odin
like,
for Odin.
they're both like, this is what needs to happen.
Wait, is there a reason why we don't think that Thor could have handled these?
Because he's not a magic. He's not a magic
to be
person.
magic. Okay.
Yeah.
It has to be
Okay.
someone that can like
All
say the
right.
spell.
I'm here for it.
He literally can't see like the threads and
Fair.
things like that.
Oh,
Loki
okay.
has been the only one that's been able to really like see what's going on.
Got it.
So Loki and the healers, because the healers are still in the room, very important, they set to work, and they're basically just there to make sure everything is above board and that she stays comfortable. And so they decide to unlock her lips first because they need to talk to her and they need her to understand what's going on and they
Nice.
need her to be able to respond.
Most men I know would do that last, if you know what I'm saying.
No, we're gonna do this the right way. And so he just starts to like touch her. Just by him like touching her like ankle, she wakes up even though she's completely paralyzed. And the healer like says like, hey, blink if you understand. This is what's going on. the prince will administer the first dose to remove the curse from your lips so we
Not
can
the
speak.
dose.
We do not know how long you will remain awake after that. Would you prefer the healers remain present at these sessions? Blink
God.
once for yes and twice for no. And she blinks twice because you hear from her POV, she's like, this is a very vulnerable thing. I do not want more people than absolutely necessary in the
watch.
room.
Yeah.
And so she blinks twice to ask the healers to leave.
So she would rather get bread than be in public.
Yes,
Got
exactly.
It. Got it.
That's the main takeaway here.
We're all bringing it back.
An incredible callback.
Thank you.
Yep. And so Loki starts to like touch her clit and while like touching her lips.
Question.
Her lip clip.
Is she naked?
She has like a very thin like robe on.
I pictured a hospital gown.
I was also
Like
picturing a
yeah,
hospital.
kind of like that, like
I
enough
really
to have
did.
modesty, but
Got
like
it.
a
Right.
flimsy thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so
yeah.
we can still have access.
Yeah.
Still have access.
Understood.
To all these threads, as we're
Contin-
calling them.
Continue with the
Yes.
clit toucher.
So he touches her clit. He like very softly kisses her, and she can like hear him mumbling something against her lips. And then at the moment that like she comes, she feels like her jaw unlock, and then she
Same.
and then she almost immediately falls asleep because
Yeah.
her body is just exhausted.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
Also, we'll say.
Also, like I know he's doing a spell, but I don't know why in my head I'm picturing him like leaning over, muttering against her lips, being like, "Just fucking wake up, Abby. Just fucking." I'm almost there. I could feel it just fucking open your mouth.
I like the idea that he might be murmuring to himself, okay, A to the left, and then I the clit is at the top. And then
How do I
if
spell
move
my
a little
name?
bit-
Seven.
He's coaching himself.
Fucking
Yeah.
open your eyes already. Sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. So the healers come back in and they say, did it work? And Loki's like, I felt something snap. It looked like her jaw released and she made a noise. So that's a good sign. And the healer's like, okay, so we'll leave.
The healer goes, congratulations, Loki.
You
now
did
I
it."
am into you.
Yeah.
Because that is hot.
Good for you.
It's impressive.
Yeah. And so they're like, basically, you're still imprisoned. You're just now imprisoned to this room. And we'll check back every day.
Now you're a sex dungeon.
Now you're in a sex dungeon. And he's like, okay, cool. Just let Thor know that we're not to be, and Thor rushes into the room.
Mid-sentence. We love that.
Yeah. And he goes, if you've touched her.
Well, of course he did.
He goes, "Smell my finger?"
of course I've touched her. Do you think I have some kind of magic orgasm wand? Wait. He goes, then again, I could get one.
Damn.
And Thor says, stop it. And Loki agrees to wake her again later so that she can talk to Thor. And so like a couple hours later, he like starts to draw like circles on her wrist again, like just with his touch, just kind of like small little stimulation. Enough to wake her up. And Thor is like explaining again what Loki's gonna do, and she's like, I know, I figured it out by now. I had an orgasm already. And Thor's like, well, I'm being sent by my father back to the battle in Vanaheim. And so I have to go. I'm not needed here. My dad's telling me I have to go. And she's like, that's okay. I'm sorry this happened. And he's like, it's not her fault. And she falls back asleep again because she's still just absolutely
and
exhausted.
also, I don't want to hear your fucking excuses on where daddy told you to be. Goodbye. If you're
Yeah.
not hanging out here to fuck me, bye.
Leave.
Then go.
Bring
Yeah.
my magic orgasm stick back.
Yeah. Give me back your brother, weirdo.
Yeah. And Thor like genuinely seems
Yeah.
he's like a lovable idiot. So
Yeah.
like he's
He's
sad
gonna
about
do what's
it.
best.
I do
Yes.
like Thor.
He's sad to leave her, and
Yeah.
he tries to touch her, and Loki actually lies to him and is like, even though Loki knows that it's completely
It's
safe
safe.
for
Yeah.
Thor to touch him, he's like, you shouldn't touch her only because, you know, I have special magic power, so I can, but you should treat her with the greatest care and like not touch her. And so Thor just leaves. And then by the next morning, Loki has released both of Jane's arms and her wrists.
Which had been shot previously.
Both arms had been shot. And we hear from Loki's perspective, he's just thinking about the situation. He's thinking like he doesn't particularly love the fact that she's not here of her own free will. Like he doesn't like
Yeah,
that.
it's not cute.
No, but he's like, at least I'm annoying Thor and I'm not in jail anymore. So we
He's
love
like,
that.
it's a win-win-lose.
Yep.
It's,
It's not
2 out of
great.
3 ain't bad.
Yeah. Frigga comes by with a bag of just like clothes, books, things for Jane for when she comes, like gets actually a little bit more
Crossword
awake.
puzzles. Things
Yep.
you bring to the hospital.
Things to help her out.
Things you bring to the hospital.
And so he's like, okay, it's time to what is he unlocking? Oh, her like neck and shoulders.
Okay.
Because she can't like turn her head
Working
or
her way
anything.
down.
Working our way around. And so he like he's sitting on the bed, he picks her up, puts her on his lap.
Correct.
So her back is to his front. She's like facing out.
Okay.
And he like touches her to wake her and then gets her off with his hand. Well, his other hand is holding her neck, which I really like as a position. And like he's like kissing her neck and shoulders and like whispering the spell.
Yeah, that's sexy.
It's
Yeah,
sexy.
that is sexy.
It's really sexy.
That's a good one.
And like we're just doing
It's a
hand
lot of-
stuff.
It's a lot of contact, so you feel safe.
Like
but
he's
you're also
holding
But
her.
you also
Yeah.
you're not looking at each other.
Yeah.
It's like all about touch. I think that's very
Yeah.
like positioning.
I love that
It's
position.
very intimate and sexual.
It
Yeah,
is.
correct.
Yeah.
But very like they're not having sex. He's just touching
Right.
her. He's not
But they
doing
could be.
anything for himself. Yeah.
Because you're in the right place.
And she like her shoulders and neck unlock, and she clearly like they're very stiff, and she like kind of rolls her neck and says thank you so much, and then falls back asleep again, and he like tucks her in.
This is also me coded.
Yeah. Well, and this is the first time that he's like affected because she's on top of him, and he honestly is like angry at himself. He's like for getting turned on. He's like, I shouldn't be. This is
I'm at
supposed to be a
work,
job. I'm at work. And he's like annoyed at himself for his lack of control.
I'm in the union.
So he like goes out. They have like a balcony. So he like goes out and meditates to just like bring the boner down and calm
Okay.
himself.
Okay.
And she wakes up like an hour later by herself, which is a big
like
deal.
to think that he jacked off.
Yeah, he didn't though.
I know.
Yeah,
but-
we'll get to it later.
Okay.
I promise. He's trying to be a good person right now. He's trying
this
to
is
like.
how we know.
Yeah. He's like
This is what
she doesn't know me very well. I'm not gonna jack off to her yet. And
Romantic.
yeah. And so she wakes up and he's like, okay, the goal is to get you to a point where you can move around and like it, we're going to focus on the essentials, the essential limbs. And she's like, why can't I just masturbate now that I have my arms free? And he says, well, you still aren't really waking up on your own. And so we want to do this more quickly, which I can do more easily for you. And it's very important that we move very slowly and that we say the counter curse. And it's easier to do that if a magic user is doing it to you because you don't know magic.
Yeah, they didn't need to introduce that question, to be
Yeah.
honest. We
Yeah.
did not need to introduce that question to the plot because now
But
I'm
it's
upset. Yeah.
but it's a valid question.
It would have probably
I was
risen.
thinking it. I was like, oh, and at one point she'll just do it herself. then.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
while he
get
like
the
stands over her
vibrator.
saying the spell.
Yeah. But this is the first time that they don't do hand stuff. He like eats her out in order because he needs to be down by her thighs so that he can release her thighs.
Yeah, because
It
you can't
makes
whisper.
sense.
You can't whisper the spell.
His face is already down there to whisper the spell at her thighs. He
Move
might
those
as well
thighs.
lick her
Move
pussy
those-
at the
get
same
those-
time.
Get those thighs up.
Squeeze my head. Move those thighs.
And he like
I do love
tries.
this running bit that
Oh,
he is
God.
just constantly reciting.
He's just-
spells.
I also
mumbling angrily to
am
himself.
picturing Tim from I Think You Should Leave. Tim.
Oh, Tim Robinson.
Robinson just like being like the fucking thing. Like
Just on a zip line. So he releases her thighs through orgasm, obviously.
Well, yeah. How else are you gonna release them thighs?
And he tries to make a bad joke, and she gets pissed off. And she's like, I don't owe you a fucking thing. Get away from me.
Ooh.
But then she, again, gets sleepy because her body is just like
Yeah.
not
Constantly
well.
exhausted.
Yep. And he kind of is like laughing a little bit and like tucks her in. Is like, oh, poor sweet baby. You got so
Yeah.
angry. And so he tells her that when she wakes up the next time, he like wakes her up and he's like, hey, so Darcy, her friend, brought you things. She brought you like clothes and books, and she's really excited. So he like brings her all of the things to her bed. Is like, here's a book, here's a crossword puzzle, and she can't really stay awake that long for it, but she's just really happy. She's just really excited.
Yeah, to be thought of.
She has her stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's boring in a hospital getting fucked all day.
Yeah. And so the next day, Loki this whole time has been sleeping on the couch, by the way, in the other room, because she has the only bed in this area, which we learn is his This is his like suite.
Oh, okay.
But she has taken the bedroom. He's sleeping on like the tiny little love seat.
Well, wasn't he in prison before?
Oh yeah, it's
So,
fine.
Yeah, this is better. It's a
Yeah.
step up.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not getting the best sleep, and he's
Right.
also magically drained because he's constantly pouring his own stuff into
Yeah.
her.
He's doing
And-
magic spells and coming.
And
Well,
he's not
not
coming.
coming.
He's
Yeah,
not
you're
He's
doing
right.
putting in work.
Yeah.
He's putting in work.
Yeah.
And so he goes in the next morning. He's exhausted. She's exhausted. And she says, I don't think I can do this right now. Can you just stimulate me in a low level way so that I can just be awake for a while? And he goes, yeah. And so they just sit side by side, and he like puts an arm around her and just like slowly kind of touches her in places so that she's always constantly kind of in a little bit
Like
of a state of
aroused?
arousal,
Okay.
but he's not trying to make her come.
Do
It's
I
just
have narcolepsy? Because I need that too. If
Yeah.
you're gonna keep me engaged for more than
just like a
couple
little bit.
just a little back
Okay,
rub.
interesting.
Yeah, and they
Interesting.
realize doing this actually works. That like if
Cool.
he's touching her, she can like be awake
Yeah, she's
and
on
gain
this.
clarity.
She's present.
She's able to be present. So later that day, he comes in and he says he does another bad joke and is like, "Do you think that we should just get this over with and fuck?" And he says it like kind of jokingly, and is like, "It'll be fun." And she's like, "Oh, so you would be doing that just for me then, for my benefit? That's why you want to fuck me?" And he's like, "Well, I would enjoy myself, but I would make sure you enjoyed it too, obviously, because that's the whole point. So like, why not?
Let's just do it.
What do we have to lose?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't really have any objections to that. Your logic is sound, and this is the fastest way probably to just get it over with."
What's left?
Her
Because
we've
she
done-
can now move around.
she doesn't have her feet, her like calves, her like she's got her arms, her hands, her mouth, her neck, her shoulders,
Okay, and her
Her
thighs.
thighs.
and her thighs.
Her
So I mean,
thighs.
she has torso.
She has torso, but she doesn't have torso. So she can't, she's still fully like stiff.
So why? Okay,
So she still cannot leave the bed.
Okay.
She cannot walk on her own.
gotcha.
And so yeah, and I just love this part, and I wanted to say it specifically for Emily, but like they agree to like fuck actually, and he's kissing her, and she suddenly goes, "Stop! What about birth control?" And he goes, "Oh, there's a potion for that," and then goes back to kissing her.
I love when there's just an easy. There's
No,
a
it's a potion.
spell. There's a potion. Whatever.
have you heard of Plan B?
Yeah, it was a potion. It's whatever.
Love it.
Don't worry about it.
Incredible.
Thank you for putting that in for me.
I had to point it out
I
to
always
you.
think about the logistics. Always.
And so they bang. It's great. She comes, and then afterwards she gets really self-conscious because she's like, it's never been that intense before with Thor.
Oh.
And he's like, oh really?
Your
and
brother don't do it like you.
Mhm. And he's like immediately like, oh really?
Preening.
It's not as
Yeah.
good as
Yeah.
da da da. And she's like, nope, we're not going down this road. We're
Yeah.
not doing it. But in the
He's
shower,
like, but I'm adopted, baby.
Yup.
Like flexing in the mirror. That's
and
what I picture.
that's when he masturbates in the shower because he's
Hey.
better than his
Yeah,
brother.
he needed a compliment.
Uh-huh. And so, and then the next time he releases her ears, because he's like, clearly you have a vocabulary kink.
Wait, but she could hear though.
And so he dirty talks into her ears. I don't know.
She could hear, so that's silly, but
It's
also
fine,
fine.
just-
Yeah, he's just wanting more like
Yeah.
reasons to fuck her.
yeah.
He's like, oh, I found another cord.
Yeah.
This one's tied up your
Exact-
hair.
Yeah, well, it's a thing of like she can hear, but there's still a cord tying her that's tied
Got
to
it.
her ear as
All
an
right.
arousal.
Okay.
So,
Got
so to
Alright.
fully release
Got it.
things, you got to get rid of all the
It's
cords.
fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes. So she still feels a little awkward around him, but they kind of start hanging out because they're both stuck in this room together. And she realizes like, oh, we don't really know each other at all. I just know you as like the guy that tried to take over the world. And so they
And my brother-in-law?
and my brother-in-law kind of,
Oh.
but they haven't really like interacted.
Wait, she's not married to the other
No,
one.
no.
They're just like love
Dating.
interest. Got it.
Dating,
Okay.
kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That makes it a little less crazy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking all this was literally his brother's wife.
No.
Okay.
They're not married. And so a servant comes in with food, and she's like startled because she's like, oh, I I didn't think somebody would be in here. And he's like, oh, I'm just kind of used to it. Like, I grew up with servants coming in and out all the time. That's just like the world that I live in, because we're royalty and whatever. Jane is like, but don't you get worried that like someone's watching you? And he's like, I just always assume someone is watching me.
Yeah.
That's just part of it. And he
I
makes fun
think
of her
that
for
too.
being a prude.
Yeah.
And is like, sometimes at banquets, people just have sex out in the open after like a battle. And that's just part of our culture.
A lot of public fucking kinks this round.
And
Sounds.
she gets really quiet and she's like, but you guys didn't fuck people like at a banquet, right? And he knows that she's asking about Thor and he's like, well, my brother, enjoyed his pleasures.
Boo.
Yeah, ask him.
Yep. And so they start talking about it, and Loki is like, well, how was Thor in bed? And basically says, like, if Thor had been asked to do this, he would have run out of ideas of how to make you come days ago. You're really lucky that you're with the creative brother. And she slaps him. And
He really is mischief.
And then she reveals that her and Thor had only ever kissed a few times and done some hand stuff, but they had never actually had sex.
I was gonna say, I don't think it's canon that they would have slept together yet. So.
No, because they're like, they have a very, I feel like they have kind of, not childish,
They have
but
a very G-rated.
they have a very G-rated relationship.
Most of these people do have very
Very
G-rated in the
flirty.
Marvel universe.
Yeah. Not a lot of banging going
With
on.
the exception of Ant-Man, who has a child.
So then they learn the next day that Thor will be back tomorrow and that all of his friends want to meet Jane because they've not met her yet. And she's really excited because she's been asked to like go for a walk in the garden and she can do that now. She has feet. And oh no,
Little Mermaid
actually,
style.
sorry. So she learns that the friends are coming and that they want to go for a walk in the garden, and that means that she needs her feet.
Got it. Okay.
So they work on their feet.
Also, what rude ass friends are going, hey, I know you're soul tied and body tied to another fucking
But do you wanna go to the
universe,
garden?
But you guys want to go on I'm coming over and we're going to need to walk.
Can you get this done so we can go
Okay.
on a walk?
Like,
Yeah.
I'm coming to visit you in the hospital, but I'm going to need a little walksies because I get bored. And after lunch, I get kind of weird.
I get
if don't
antsy.
walk. Yeah. Like, what a wild friend. I get it. I'm here for the story.
yeah.
But I'm like, come on.
They want to meet her. And so
yeah, and now you want to meet her?
Yeah.
So that to release her feet, she's at the end of the bed, he's kneeling on the floor and he eats her out. And then they have sex with him like standing while she's laying on the bed.
Sexy.
And,
Okay.
Yep. And the whole time he's holding her feet. And
Got it.
Whispering, mumbling into her feet.
and she tries to close her eyes and he
Hold
says,
on, let me get her little mumble.
oh yeah.
Fucking work, fucking feet, gotta fucking work. But I gotta go walk in the garden. Work.
I'm so upset. This is the dumbest.
Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so he fucks her, she's laying on the bed, and she goes to close her eyes and he says, I want you to watch me. And I want to watch
Ooh.
you.
Shit.
Do not hide your pleasure from me.
Oh.
And he tells her to like show him how she touches herself, and she does, and she
Hey.
comes. And then he like they kind of like cuddle up in bed and he falls asleep and wakes up apologizing and being like, oh God, I'm sorry. And she's like, it's okay. And they stay up reading and talking for a while, and with him like explaining magic and her explaining science. And she's like, you can just sleep in here with me, it doesn't matter. And they sleep next to each other. It's
Magic
really
and
cute.
science are basically the same.
Yeah.
Correct.
In this world, honestly,
They are.
they blend a lot.
Yeah.
And so then the next day she meets Thor's friends. Loki is very jealous because he has to stay in the room because he's still technically a prisoner. And
He's not allowed to go to the garden.
nope, he's
That
not.
was so funny.
And so she goes around the garden, and the friends like shake Jane's hand and are really excited to meet her. And Frigga shows up while she's gone to ask Loki like about the progress, and he's trying to be very clinical. He's like, she's moving along well. We're working on it. She's staying awake for like 6 hours
We're
a day
working on her
now.
problem area.
Yes, we're working on the feet yesterday. And she said, Frigga is like, are you sure Jane will want to leave? You guys seem to be really getting along.
Damn.
Maybe you're growing fond of each other.
Damn, Frigga.
And she also says, I noticed that Thor's friend was able to touch Jane and shake her hand.
Oh, well now more bonds are gone, so,
Uh-huh.
and now it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, but she says, did you lie to Thor about not being able to touch
Mama's gonna
Jane?
explicitly ask. She's not gonna beat around the bush for too long. She's gonna go, "Hey, I saw some evidence. What the fuck is that?"
I love her for that reason.
Yeah.
She's she's a badass.
Yeah, I wish there was one more episode we could do a normie because I want more Frigga porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And then out in the garden, Thor joins Jane and the friends and they're having a lovely time. But then she is really put off because Thor goes to hold Thor's hand and he pulls away. And she doesn't understand why.
Oh, okay.
And it's because he still thinks that he shouldn't be touching her because he's worried.
Got it.
And so later that night, she finds.
See, he probably should have checked in right then and said, "Can I touch you?"
No.
And then that would have solved a lot of communication.
Nah, no communication in this fic.
Okay.
This is the wrong fic for it.
All right, keep it moving.
We got sex magic going on. We don't have time to
Who
talk.
has time to communicate? When
We
you
had
do
enough time to establish consent,
And that's
and
it.
that's about all we have.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Which is steps above most.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
True.
took great pains
Yeah.
to be like, y'all, let's not feel weird about this.
Yeah.
She verbally.
I'm even gonna cover the hand thing you were all thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
even gonna cover that in story. no footnotes.
Nope, none. So she walks out that night onto the balcony. Loki's reading, and she says, by the way, thank you for finding me clothes earlier, because I didn't say this part, but he basically was like, you'll look really weird if you're walking around the gardens in like
robe.
your clothes.
Right.
Here's some Asgardian robes
Gotcha.
so that you fit in.
Okay.
And he's like, why do you dress so casually normally? And she's like, that's just what we do on my world. But I was wearing jeans on the day I showed up because I had a date later that day. And he's like, oh, really? I thought you were pining away after my brother, just like he was pining after you. And she's like, I was just trying something to take my mind off Thor. Like, it wasn't going to work, but, like, he and I weren't working. He was always at war or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I was just trying to
Always
figure
at
out
war.
what else I wanted. And she
He's
was...
pretty busy.
Yeah. And she was like, I went on a date for 10 minutes and it didn't work. And Loki goes, it's only taken me 10 minutes several times.
Damn.
Hey.
Damn.
And he is like so happy about it. He's so, because she like laughs and she doesn't get mad at him. And he's
that's
like,
flirty.
he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he like comes up behind her and starts playing with her hair. And she's like, well, you don't have to do that. And so they're on the balcony. He starts kind of like rubbing her shoulders. She's like, you don't have to do that. And he says, well, it's that time of night. It's time for treatment. And she's like, well, people could see. And he's like, there's no one there.
I'm upset by treatment. I have to
Your
say
treatment.
not your
That was my word, not
your
his.
little treatment.
Doctor's orders.
And he fucks her on the balcony.
Nice.
And she says, "Can we go inside now?" And he says, "We can, but we can do it again, and we can go inside. But if we do that, you have to do what I say." And she's like, "Okay."
Shit.
And so they have kind of rough dommy sex, and she's very into it.
Okay.
And she is on top of him at one point, and he says, "Did you like that?" And she says, "Yes." And then he says, "Let's find out something else you like," and starts to finger her and starts to like whisper like, remember next time that you liked me doing this to you.
Oh.
Remember that you liked this and that you enjoyed this and that this is something that you like doing. And she like has like kind of a very intense, hot, shamey orgasm.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
The
Yeah.
incantation was different this time.
Yup.
It wasn't just
different.
come on to my feet. I'm like, come on.
And she, like, at this point is starting to be conflicted. So, like, the next morning we get a lot of her being like, who am I now that I have passionate sex with a man?
Yeah.
And she's very thrown by the fact that, like, she let him have control and she doesn't usually let people in like that. And they're really bonding and she doesn't know what to do about it. And when she gets back to the chambers after a day out and about with her best friend, she's like immediately, like, she sees the couch that they fucked on and is immediately like reliving it. And he's like, do you need me to jog your memory? And she's like, why did I let you order me around? I'm feeling a lot of feelings about it. And he's like, because because you knew that you would enjoy it and that I would take care of you, and that's why you liked
Hot.
it. Yeah, I think it's very hot. And they have sex again, blah 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 blah, etc. 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 And he, as they're fucking, makes a mistake, and he brings up Thor as like can you imagine if he could see us right now?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. It's
Bro,
really
why are you
weird.
thinking about your brother right now?
It's creepy because he's got this
Yeah,
weird competitive
of
jealousy
course.
thing.
I mean, I get it, but I don't get it.
No,
Like,
it's
you're
fucked
like,
up.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I get that would pop into your head. Maybe don't bring that up to the room.
Yeah.
Like, that's not
Not
something
while
for
you're
the whole
in her.
class. Right.
Yeah. So they do get into a fight about it.
They do get
They
into
do
a
get into a fight about it.
fight.
And he's like, it was only like a fan. I was like trying to be sexy. And she says, are you just like having sex with me to humiliate your brother because you like that you're humiliating him? And he's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And they're still fighting.
It
so he's
sounds
like,
like it.
well, and he's like, well, you and Thor have only kissed like twice, and that's not anything compared to the Thor I know, who goes around fucking random tavern wenches.
He puts the whore in Thor.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm not some fling. And he's like, I guess not, since you guys haven't slept together. And she's like, why did I ever say yes to you? And he says, because you can feel that you want me the same as I want you. You're having just as much fun as I am. And she calls him a monster, and that sets him off because of his
His
adoption history
Yeah,
issues.
and he is like a monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a
Like
very
a
he's a
monster.
hot monster.
monster.
A monster.
Honster. And so Jane, being Jane, the next morning is like, well, I must research about this. So she goes to the library and like learns about frost giants. Oh yeah, very big nerd. And so the next day, Thor is back in town, and he offers to take Jane for a walk. Loki just sits there furious in his chair because he can't do anything about it. And they go for a walk, and it's lovely. And Jane is happy to see Thor, but he still doesn't touch her, and she doesn't understand why. And she walks back into the room and apologizes for calling Loki a monster, and is like, I didn't realize like your history. I know that that's a trigger now. I didn't know it was a sore subject. And he apologizes and is like, I just wanted you to admit that you want me as much as you want Thor.
Damn.
And she says, I think you're right. Like, I think that we do really like each other, and like we click. And I don't.
Sorry, I called you a slur.
I called you a slur. And
Jesus.
she's like, but I don't really know what I want. And he says, neither do I. And they kiss, and then they fuck again on the balcony. And it's like
Nice.
really slow and sweet. And afterwards, he tells her more about his childhood and all of his dark backstory.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
All the boring shit that makes her fall in love.
And then the next day, she's going to the library, and Thor tries to like take her for a walk, and she's like, oh no, I really wanted to go to the library, and kind of like doesn't go with him, and he's put off by that. And then he's speaking to Odin, because he's been hearing from the servants that like there's a lot of talk in the palace of like, oh, Loki seduced my girlfriend, and he's like, Dad, why didn't you tell the servants to like not say that? Like, why didn't you stop the rumors from happening? And it's humiliating. And Odin is like, listen, we're on track for the curse to be broken in full by tomorrow, and then she can decide what she wants to do. She will let you know. And Thor is just like fully doesn't know what to do because he's a fight it out guy.
Yeah.
And Thor and his friends go to the tavern.
This is a true moral conundrum.
Oh yeah, and he's like sad about it, and he goes to the tavern, and he's like, oh yeah, and it would be really great if I could just like touch her and hold her hand. And his friends go, well, we shook Jane's hand when we met her.
We've been touching on her.
And we were fine, so what do you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-oh.
And Thor storms off, forgive the pun.
he gotta go.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he finds Loki in like the training ring and runs in and like confronts him and is like, did you lie to me about not being able to touch Jane? And he's like, well, if that small thing is what deterred you from visiting her ever, then I guess you didn't care that much about her in the first place.
Petty.
Boom, baby.
And he's like, would
Petty.
you like to fuck her instead while I mutter spells over you both? Would that be better for you? And Thor, they get into it. And Thor's like, she never would have let you actually have sex with her if she knew, because you're a monster and you're horrible.
Uh-oh.
And Loki like laughs at him and like digs in and starts to describe what it's like to have sex with Jane. And it's not good. It is rude, and he shouldn't be saying that. And he's like talking about how beautiful and magnificent she is and how Thor has never seen that, and he has. And Thor like tackles him and punches him in the face. And Jane is in the chambers when Loki is carried in like over somebody's shoulder and gets dumped on the floor.
Yeah.
And they have sex. No, and Loki the whole time is like, as soon as she finds out everything that I said, this is never going to happen again. But I can't tell her. And so, but they know also that like this is the last treatment. This is the last time that they need to. And so it's very slow and sensual, and it starts in a bathtub.
Hey.
Full circle.
And when they're done, she says the sheets are soaked because they like pick up.
From the bathtub.
From the bathtub.
Right.
But then
I'm gonna
other
start
things
using
too.
that excuse.
Maybe other things
It's the
too.
bathtub.
It's the bathtub. But like he waves his hand and the sheets are dry, which
Love that.
Yeah.
amazing.
Love that.
Honestly, could have saved me some arguments in the past.
Yes.
Just save me some coins.
Yeah, some literal quarters.
Yeah.
And so the next morning they wake up, they're sleeping next to each other in bed. We're almost done, I promise. And when Loki wakes up, she's like, I need to talk to Thor. And a guard comes in to take Loki away because he's going back to prison because the treatments are done. And Odin's like, you did well, so I'm deciding if I should shorten your sentence because you did what you said you would do.
Oh, that's good.
But until then, you will go back to prison.
Okay.
And Jane tries to rush after Loki and is like, stop at the guard. And she's arguing, and and that's when Thor comes in and is like, Jane Foster, Loki has lied to us both. And she's super betrayed. And she's like, you're the one that kept Thor from me. How dare you? And they go and visit Loki in his cell, and she's pissed. And he's like, and Thor pulling back from her made her think that he didn't want her. And Loki just says like very quietly that when she said yes to Loki, that it had nothing to do with Thor. And she knows it, and they built something together, and she knows it, and she should hold on to that even though he's
but
very
that's
sorry.
separate.
It's very
We
separate.
could have two different conversations.
Mhm. And she says it doesn't matter, it's over.
Right.
And she leaves.
Ooh.
Yes. She still
Way
says
to make that a part of this conversation.
Mhm. She's like, I'm over you. But she's not. Spoiler alert, she's not. And Jane is still staying in Loki's rooms. She finds like the clothes that she had worn. Thor visits Loki in his cell. And he's basically like, I made a deal with Odin. You can atone on Earth if you work for the Avengers, but you have to agree to join us and not be evil anymore. And if you agree, then I will go talk to what's his name? Nick Fury, and see if there's a place for you with us. And Loki's like, why are you doing this for me? And Thor's like, I want to see you happy, and I want to see Jane happy, and I don't think either of you will be happy with you in this cell, because Thor's a good man.
He's a good man.
He's a sweet boy.
Thor is a good boy.
He is. And a day later, Jane comes in still pissed, and Loki's like, how could you still want Thor after our time together? And she's like, all you and I have together is chemistry, and you wanting to like spite your brother. And he's like, you're wrong, I want you, I'm gonna fight for you, I will atone for the things I've done. And he tells her about the Avengers plan and says like, if I do that, will you give me a chance? And she says, don't do it for me, do it for you, and
Yeah,
leaves.
I was gonna say it's not avenge her, it's Avengers. Okay.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
You got it.
No, I liked it and I hated it.
And then in the epilogue,
Oh, okay.
didn't
realize that's how it ends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so 6 months later, Jane sees Loki again out of the blue in her apartment. He's just there because he's a superhero and he can. And he's like, oh, I had a few days off. And she's like, oh, so they did have use for you. And he's like, oh yes, I get to do everything I'm good at, even if it means dealing with my brother. And she's like, oh, I haven't seen Thor. How's he doing? And Loki's like, oh, so you're not together? And she says, no, we're not anything after everything that happened. And he says, I came because I wanted to apologize again in person. and just say like, if you still want me, I'm here. And she's like, I don't even know what we are. And he says, neither do I, but give me a chance. And he approaches her very slowly. He's like, I'm not a hero, and you're not stupid, but I'm so sorry for lying, and I'm not sorry for seducing you, and I never will be.
Jesus.
And she says, okay, let's start over. Let's pretend that we met at some other place. And they basically like spin this whole yarn of like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Jane. Nice to meet you. I'm Loki. And they're like laughing, and she takes his hand and he kisses her hand and says, I am pleased to meet you, Jane Foster. And that's how it ends.
Cute.
Okay. I was
Leaving
not
it
expecting
open.
that ending.
Yeah.
Of just like, okay, we'll see. And then 6 months
They're
later.
going to date. They're going to
Yeah.
go on a couple dates.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's
But like,
nice.
but without the stigma.
Without the stigma,
Yeah.
without the purple threads.
Yeah.
Without the sex
Without
pollen.
the sex strings.
Without
Yeah.
Frigga overseeing it.
I know. Without the mom in the room.
Bless
Yeah.
Frigga.
So my game is very, very simple. Fuck, marry, kill, Thor, Loki, Jane Foster.
Oh, fuck.
Marry Loki.
Okay.
Honestly, marry Loki, fuck Thor, kill Jane Foster. Jane kind of bothers me. She just... And then Thor's so not... He's a good boy, but like, you want Loki. You
Yeah.
want Loki.
I don't.
I'm also straight, so I
I
don't know.
don't-
I'm
yeah.
thinking of just the actors, and I'm like, personally...
I don't know any of the backstory only from this, so I'm using very
Just this
present.
fic.
Yeah, this fic. I'm gonna marry Jane
Okay, yeah.
because
She's
it
cool.
seems like the most realistic, reasonable life, and like not a bunch of magic backstory that I have to deal with.
But I
like,
love
you have your-
magic.
and I love magic too. We still live in the world with it.
Right.
I don't need to fuck it.
I
I don't
always
need to.
need to
I don't
fuck
need to.
magic.
I don't need to dissect your fucking family issues with you. Like, I don't want to not be able to say you're a monster to my partner.
Right.
I
I
want
wanna be able to say that
call
whenever I
him a monster.
All the time.
I am going to absolutely be banging Thor. Because
yeah.
with that kind of wild although I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want that 1 second move from Loki. So
Yeah.
I'd fuck either one, and I'd kill
Kill
either
either-
one.
yeah.
I feel 100% flip a coin 50-50
About
on
it.
those. Like,
Fair.
I will fuck either
Fair.
one that wants to pay attention to me. Whichever
They're
one's-
both going to be a good time.
Yeah, whatever
both
one's
gonna
more
be a good
eager
time.
to
Yeah.
fuck me.
Yeah.
That's who I want to fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
Loki would be a more like precise.
Thor would have something to prove.
Thor would be like a big like
He'll
burly
throw you
man.
around.
He'll throw you around.
Which I
Okay,
love that
I do
idea.
like that.
yeah. Loki will be clever with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I like that too.
And he'll tease you.
See,
He'll
that's
tease
why
you.
I
Tease
really
you.
am 50-50 on it.
Yeah, which I
whichever one's
understand.
showing me interest, that's the one I'm banging. The other
Hence
one's
why
dead.
I'm marrying one and fucking one. I want both.
I think I would kill Thor.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would marry Loki. Fuck. Jane,
I was gonna say
kill
you
Thor.
wouldn't marry Loki.
Because a
Jane,
big burly man is not my thing.
Interesting.
No matter how sweet he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
It just depends on the vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
that. So yeah, that's
We did it.
Yeah, a
What was the title
unusual
of yours?
course of treatment.
There it was.
Yes,
Thank you.
by
An
ughiguess.
unusual course of treatment.
Yes.
It's stalked by a kraken.
Yes.
So between Stalked by a Kraken and Usual Course of Treatment, what are you rating out of 5 raccoons and trash
Raccoons
cans?
in trash cans.
Go.
Trashcoons.
Yes.
Let's go 5 out of 5 for both.
Oh,
And I genuinely
Wow.
stand by that.
I kind of agree with that. I mean, not that I don't
Yeah.
disagree, and not
We
that
did
it
a
matters.
really good job.
We did a great job with
Yeah.
it. This is
I-
a fun one.
I was not only entertained, I was flabbergasted to both.
Great.
And I learned stuff. Like, it was really, it hit everything that I like about your podcast. Both stories hit that.
Aw,
Like
thanks.
all of the top tiers. That's
Yeah.
might be my favorite one we've done.
Oh, great.
That was
For the
definitely one of
lad
my
to
favorite
close
ones.
us out too.
So we're not. The next episode is a finale, so
Yes.
we're not picking a trope. But I guess we can finish on a. Hey, what are you reading?
Yeah.
Hey, Julie, what are you reading?
Recently, I've been reading The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Okay.
James Cameron, ex-wife, a 90. It's
Good
a
for her.
90. You haven't heard The Artist's Way? Why are you making
No.
that? Really?
No.
That's shocking to me. Because The Artist's Way is a very popular self-help book from the 90s that is connecting to your inner spiritual inner artist.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
But all of my most artistic create. It's really popular in the Chicago comedy scene, to be honest.
Oh, all right.
So that's why you're asking why.
Yeah, how y'all hadn't heard it. It's crazy.
I don't do a lot of self-help books, though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's self-help centric, but it's a 12-week program, so it's like write your morning pages, which is your journal, and take your inner artist on a date and stuff like that. So it's real hokey, and also has a very hilarious cliche stigma of like, I know my friends are struggling when they're suggesting the artist way to me, because they're like, okay, I need something.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I was doing it for my podcast, so I've been rereading it again for the podcast, and it's been honestly pretty lit. Like, I really do.
Great.
Like, I find little parts of it that I'm like, she's hokey as hell. She's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the lady is. I don't care how you feel about Julia Cameron. I think she's fucking nuts. Like, reading this fucking book makes me feel like she's absolutely unhinged in the best way.
Great.
She's an artist. She's just really, like, you can tell she's lived a different life than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just on another level.
Yes, with her, like, in touch with artistry, but also a little bit of privilege. So you're like, oh, you're seeing the world different. And I don't hate that. Like, I think that it could benefit all of us if we could connect to our creativity like that. I like so much of it, but yeah, that's really where I'm at. So a self-help book.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey, Emily.
Yeah.
Woo!
I am in the middle, so I was reading like 4 books.
Yeah.
But the one I'm reading now is Stone Blind
Ooh.
by it's like Natalie Hines.
I'll look it up while you talk about it.
Thank you. It's a retelling of the Medusa story. It's been out for like a few years now. I just have not gotten. I haven't been able on my game. Natalie Haynes, perfect. She's written a ton of classical retellings.
This is historical, not a fanfic.
This is a book.
Oh, this is
a
real
book.
deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
About Medusa.
Cool.
So, who is not a real person.
I mean,
it's a myth.
it's Greek mythology, so historical to me.
Fair.
Yeah.
But I get it. Yeah, you're right. I'm not
classical
I'm not
retelling
an idiot.
is what we.
I am an
But
idiot.
it's not my usual. I love a good classical retelling. There was a time in my life where I had read like everything that was out on the market, like legit.
Yeah.
It was like a
Interesting.
thing. And it's become so big now. And Natalie Haynes is such a big name, but yeah, it's a little more not poetic, but in that sense of like there will be a chapter from this person, and then there'll be like a paragraph about like see the bird and you want to be the bird and da 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 da, and it all ties
It's
in
like an exploration of
and it
Medusa.
ties into something later, and you understand that. But so it's not my normal thing, but I'm halfway through it. I'm enjoying it. It's really interesting, and I love a good retelling of a like villain or a character that didn't get a lot of time, but that people have like grown to love so much, and that they have created these whole stories for.
Yeah.
So, and my favorite is always Penelope, who is the wife of Odysseus. If there's ever a retelling, I've most likely read it because she was always my ride or die bitch. Mm-hmm. So that is what I'm reading right now.
Love that. Y'all. Okay, so it's 2 things that I have not read, but I'm very excited to read that are on my TBR for like tonight when you guys leave. So the one that I was talking about, the one I was talking about earlier, where they have to fuck because of the unbreakable vow.
Yeah.
It's called "It Has to Be You."
Incredible.
And
we're all gonna need that in the group chat.
Yeah.
so
I'll send it to
excited.
you. I'm really excited about it. But the summary, if I could just read it really quickly.
Please.
Hold on. Draco swallowed. Yes, it has to be you. I call bullshit. Fuck you. And that's the summary.
Okay.
And then before that, it's Granger. You have no idea the impact those periwinkle ruffles had on me.
Stop.
Boo.
Stop.
She scoffed. Ha! I think you saw your first exposed collarbone and it broke your brain. Blaze turned to Draco. I mean, she's not wrong, mate. That's basically what happened. Shut up, Blaze. So it'll be a lovely time.
Yeah, that'll be
Incredible.
And then the other one that I'm really excited to read, which is over there, that Sean lent me, friend of the pod, Sean Buckley, is called What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat. And it's by Aubrey Gordon.
I love Aubrey.
Yes, of the Maintenance Phase. Yep, which is a great podcast, but it's basically about breaking down the social structures, the things that have been built up both institutionally and societally to work against fat people and deny them basic fucking human dignity in a lot of ways. And I've been really excited to read it for a while, and Sean finished it and lent it to me, and so I'm just like, I'm really excited to dig into it, because the maintenance phase really changed the way that I thought about my body and about.
It's a good podcast.
It's great, and
so
it's
important.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited to dig
like
in.
Those hosts, which honestly, how could you not? But even if you don't like, they're not for you. The podcast, the content is important.
Yeah.
That book specifically is one that like we mentioned earlier, I don't realize I like something until a week later when it sticks with me. That one, the topic that I come back to and I have quoted a million times is airplane seats, and how like in the 70s they were enormous and like really cozy, and now like you have like 3 inches of, and
because they want to fit more people in to get more money.
You can make more money. It is. There's a million reasons.
Yeah.
But like it's very fat phobic of them, because like I'm a big bitch generally speaking, but like I'm tall and my knees hit the back of a Spirit flight, and so like I realized like if I gained any weight I could no longer fly Spirit, and
sucks.
It sucks. It's inaccessible. It's not fair, but it's also interesting because of the huge change that socially like we've made. They've shrunk, period. But then we've blamed the people. Like, we don't blame the airlines for making them smaller. We blame the people. And that's something I keep coming back to from Aubrey and like that whole concept. So I'm a big fan of
I'm
that.
really excited to read it.
Yeah, I've heard a few episodes. They're long, but they're very well researched, and I do like them. They're great.
Yeah.
Well, we did it.
We sure did it.
This was our last episode. I hope you liked it. Next episode will be the finale.
Yeah.
And we're going to do our, if you haven't heard before, we'll explain it then. But, we got brackets coming up. We got superlatives. We've got games.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait to see you there. And in the meantime, we are just 2 raccoons.
Talking about
the best
trash in town.
Bye.
Femmes Reading Filth is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Barusian and Jessica Mall. Intro music by Tom Lehrer. Outro music by David Reddick. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Femmes Reading Filth. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.